All right, shalom, Brother Reynolds. So, we give praise, honor, and esteem to the living Elohim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. This day we pick this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. Another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. But had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? Proverbs 22 and 4. Hey, all y'all need to get yourself together and get yourself together real quick. Hey, get up out that floor, get somewhere and sit down. Amen. Shalom, Sharon, man. Okay, so by humility and the fear of Yahuwah are riches, honor, and life, which is what we've been talking about and dealing with. But let's swing over here to Psalms 45 and 1. Get somewhere and sit down, boy. Ain't nobody playing with you. Get somewhere and sit down. My heart is indicted, this is Psalm 45 and 1. My heart is indicting a good matter. I speak of the things which I have made, touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. You are fairer than the sons of men. Grace is poured into your lips. Therefore, Elohim will baruch you forever. Gird your sword upon your thigh, O most mighty, with your esteem and your majesty. And in your majesty ride prosperously, because of truth, meekness, righteousness, and your right hand shall teach terrible things. Now, we touch on this verse loosely, but through these coming eight days, we're going to touch on it more in depth, along with what we're looking at in Proverbs 22. But I want you to take a trip with me to John chapter 1. I want you to pick this up at about verse 19, I suppose. You know, we were talking about, of course, what we're dealing with in Proverbs 22 in regards of that through meekness and the fear of Yahuwah. That's how you get honor. That's how you get riches, and that's how you get life. And of course, we're coming back to this Psalm 45, and that's discussing. We're dealing with that through the Amah, the Anava, and the Zadok. This is how his right hand is going to teach you the fear of Yahuwah. When we're coming back looking at Passover, which we're coming over to look at, and many people may look at it from many different angles, but the angle that we're going to take on it this year is to look at it in regards of Passover to teach you how to fear Yahuwah. If you didn't learn nothing else, and that's the first and the second, you should be able to ascertain that from the first and the second. But nevertheless, John chapter 1, verse 18, or 19, excuse me. This is the record of John when the Yahudim sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, "I am not Mashiach." They asked him, "What then are you, Elijah?" And he said, "I am not." "Are you that prophet?" He answered, "No." Then they said unto him, "Who are you?" That we may give an answer to them that sent us. "What say you of yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of Yahuwah, as said the prophet Isaiah." And they which were sent were of the Pharisees. They asked him and said unto him, "Why immerse you then, if you be not the Mashiach, nor Elijah, neither that prophet?" John answered them, saying, "I immerse with water, but there's one stand among you whom you know not. He it is who coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoe latchet I am not worthy to unloose." These things were done in Bethbara beyond Jordan, where John was immersing. The next day John seeth Yahushua coming unto him and said, "Behold, the Lamb of Elohim, which take away the sin of the world. This is he whom I said, after me come a man which is preferred before me, for he was before me. And I knew him not, but that he should be made manifest to Yasharal, therefore I am immersing with water." John bare record saying, "I saw the Ruach descending from Shamahim like a dove, and abode upon him. And I knew him not, but he that sent me to immerse with water, the same said unto me, upon whom you see the Ruach descending and remaining on him, the same is he which will immerse with the Ruach HaKodesh. And I saw him bear record that this is the son of Elohim. The key point of what we're coming over to look at is when he declared him to be the Lamb of Elohim. And y'all know what the text say about the Lamb, don't you? That he was slain from the foundation of the world. So that means he began off from the jump street with the yielding or the submission and the fear of Elohim to do something before he ever stepped on the earth and did it. Now we're going to read Isaiah 46 on general principle in that regard. Isaiah chapter 46. You can pick it up at verse 5 if you would. He said, to whom will you liken me, make me equal, and compare me, that we may be alike? They lavish gold out of the bag and weigh silver in the balance. I hire a goldsmith, and he make it a god. And they fall down, yea, and they worship. They bear him upon the shoulder, they carry him, and set him in his place. And he stand from his place, shall he not remove? Yea, one shall cry unto him, yet he cannot answer, nor save him out of his trouble. Remember this and show yourselves men. Bring it again to mind, O you transgressors. Now pause. He's speaking to the men. He's telling you that you need to show yourself a man, because what type of man would worship something that has no life in it? Because what he's talking about is people worshiping idols, and he's telling you don't dare at any point in time compare me to something that doesn't have life in it. With that being said, pause and come over here to what you call it, Revelation 13. Hold Isaiah 46, go to Revelation 13. See, the men's supposed to remember that. Revelation chapter 13. You can pick it up at 11. He said, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a serpent. He exercised all power over the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. He do great wonders, so that he make fire come down from Shamahim on their rats in the sight of men. He deceived them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image of the beast, which had a wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So I want you to pay attention to that and look at that, right? Because what did he say about the idol in Isaiah 48? The 46, that it didn't have any life in it, did it not? Let's go back and look at it. Because see, you have to, that's why he tell you better remember yourself at you men, oh you rebels, because you've been bucking serving idols in your heart for a long season. Look at what he said. They bear him upon the shoulder and carry him and set him in his place. Don't you realize that regardless if that idol has the power to speak and give life to him, somebody had to carry it and put it in his place? Did you think that idol just got up and walked over there and said, worship me? And it said it can't be moved. Because for an idol to do anything, somebody got to move it, right? But see, look at the key, say one will cry unto it, yet he cannot answer. But see, that idol going to be speaking to people. So you might can call on it and answer, but he ain't going to be able to save you out your trouble. Because see, they're going to look at it as you be saved out your trouble because you won't be beheaded. You know what I'm talking about? But he really ain't going to save you out your trouble. I'm going to just read this on the house. Revelation 14. Revelation 14 and 9. And the third Malachim followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the Kadesh Malachim and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascend up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receive the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the faithful ones, and here are they that keep the instructions of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua. Now, see, that's going to take you back to what we're talking about. So you'll be able to do that if you have the faith the meekness and the righteousness of Elohim, then you would fear and reverence Elohim. Just like I mentioned it last night. If you do not have the proper respect for your husband, there's absolutely no way that you will yield to his will. It is utterly impossible. You cannot love someone you do not respect. You can talk all that fanciful stuff that people in the world talk about and all that emotional crap is nonsense, it's foolery. You've been deceived and you're delusional if you think love has anything to do about how you feel. Do you not understand that people in no time in the history of mankind ever believed or thought any such thing until probably about the 16th to 17th century, when white folks began to propagate these things in their novels and in their writings and in their books and things of that such? People of ancient time did not consider love to be an emotional construct. See, they allowed those constructs to come about for the purpose of commerce. I've told you this in the past. Everything that these people do is for the purpose of commerce. And the purpose of commerce is to exploit women because you're simpletons. And when I say simpletons, because you operate off of emotion. So when you operate off of emotion, you think in a simple fashion. You only think in a two-dimensional fashion. That means you're not going to look at the totality of what is being executed. So therefore, you are easily deceived. Simple as that. No way around that. That's not no knock on women. That's just what it is. Aren't children easily deceived? Because they're simpletons. Why are they simpletons? Because they think on a two-dimensional level. This is why the text say, how long will you simple ones love simplicity? Because remember, who is his wife? That's Yasharal. So that ain't just no natural woman thing right there. They simpletons too. Because you think on a two-dimensional level, or i.e. carnally. So you're going to think about how you feel and how something is going to relate to how you feel and the fulfilling of a desire in that given moment without looking at the totality of the consequence of the choice and decision that you are making. And you won't realize it till later on down the line that you have made a bad decision. Because when you look at television, who do they sell romance to? They sell it to women. They sell it to women because they know the men want the women. So they know the men will do what is necessary to want the women because they've trained men to be concerned about chasing and fulfilling the desires of women versus filling the desires of their purpose for the building of their community around them and their people as a whole. Shalom, man. Therefore, the woman has something to fit into, and therefore she can yield and respect her husband and labor to the fulfilling of the purpose of him, and then, of course, whatever he's working to benefit those around him. See, that has been removed. Remember when you used to mention that? What does the concept of date night come from? Now you have people, they feel like they're entitled to that. He don't take me out on a date. People of ancient times didn't have any dates, and those people were happy. Those people were happy. Where did you get that construct from? You got that from a television show, from a movie, from music. That's where you got that from, the way you think that this person should do this, and if they don't do it, then they don't care about you. If they don't like you, then you become disenchanted, disenfranchised, and begin to entertain someone else. And then what does that do? That continues a cycle of brokenness in the community of people, which is why you have 80% of the children who are born, and they're not born to parents who are married. See, that's how that happens. Do you understand 4 out of 5 children are born outside of wedlock? You understand how high that is? That means for every 5 black kids you see, only one of them parents are married. You know what I'm saying? That is not normal. That is not the construct of what the man created and what is supposed to be done. That's not what's supposed to be done. So look at it in the aspect, a simple fact of looking at the word and looking at the word. Out of 5 people, only one of them going to be born of Elohim and be born in the wedlock of being joined to him in one. Every 4 people you see in the word, 4 of them bastards. That's why you seen all that stuff when you had people going crazy because these boys had the butt naked hoes. Like I told you, niggas say, oh, they making us look bad. He can't make me look bad. He can only make himself look bad. See, no matter what sin anybody commits, you're not making anybody look. The only person who can make somebody else look bad is her wife to her husband. Your actions can reflect poorly on him. How do we know that? Because the text tells us that when Yasharal to Yahuwah, he said, you blaspheme my name amongst the Gentiles. Remember when David did what he did? What's the first thing Yahuwah told him? Now you done gave space to my enemies to blaspheme. Your actions got me looking bad. Because now they're going to say that this is what I represent and this is what I'm about based off what you do. So they say, you know what? I'm going to kill that baby. That sword gonna stay in your house, and I'm gonna take all your wives, and that's what it's gonna be. Because my name gonna be clean out here in these streets. Because you ain't gonna have my name looking bad. You know what I'm saying? See, that's a hard reality for people to swallow because we don't sit there and think about that. Because, like I said again, carnally, women are emotional creatures. So that means you're carnal first. So that means you're going to easily be deceived. I told you a few weeks back, you can't sell men a lifestyle because men are not going to buy it. Men don't feel the need. Get you a passport, get you some stamps, and go travel all around the world. Men don't do that. Do you see men running around talking like that? You only see women doing that. But what does that do? That causes you to be a consumer. See, women are not builders. You consume. So as long as you can give women the authority and power, or at least the construct of the society, they will consume and doom and destroy the society. That's why I say you need to remember yourself and show yourself a man, because you have to put your foot down. See, what a lot of people don't realize is you're going to have to do the same thing you would do. If you don't want to, see, people feel like you got to save everybody. If you don't want to get with the program, you exit stage left. See, that's what men's supposed to do. If she doesn't want to get with the program, you exit stage left. Because Yahuwah gave you an opportunity to get with the program, and what did he do? But see, then he gave you, as he told you in 2 Samuel 14, he gave you a means to bring his banished back to him, because he is the Elohim of reconciliation. Since I said that, 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Did I finish Revelation 14? See, that's the difference. See, that's just alluding a little bit to what you call it, kafar, or atonement, or the reconciliation, or the purging. Because he's an Elohim that seeks for reconciliation. The men seek for separation, and Elohim seek for reconciliation. But you know what has to be done to get reconciliation from Elohim? There has to be a pure heart. There has to be a heart of an individual that has a desire to yield to his will. If you're not willing to yield to his will, how is he going to be able to reconcile with you? Because who did wrong, him or you? So you're the one in need of reconciliation. He does not need to reconcile with you. You need to reconcile with him. That means you would need to prove that you're worthy of him. He doesn't need to prove that he's worthy of you. Nevertheless, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, you can pick it up at verse 17. Indeed, gentlemen, indeed. Therefore, if any man be in Mashiach, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. And all things are of Elohim, who have reconciled us to himself by Yahushua HaMashiach, and have given to us the service of reconciliation. Because that's why I mentioned, that's why we started with John 1, the Lamb of Elohim. Because that lamb is for reconciliation. But see, what you're not even understanding is when you look at the lamb on the first Passover, that was for some reconciliation, even though you hadn't did anything to need to be reconciled. Why did you need the reconciliation? Because you were in a house of bondage or a place of captivity, separated from your Elohim. There needed to be a shedding of blood to bring you back to be one with him. Because we're going to look at the aspects of, you got taught the truth, you got taught meekness, and you got taught righteousness in order for you to fear Yahuwah, but you chose not to do so. Because see, he gave you riches and honor and life with that initial teaching on your way out. Once you got it, then you rejected that. But nevertheless, verse 19 of 2 Corinthians chapter 5. To wit, the Elohim was in Mashiach, reconciling the world unto himself, not imputing their trespasses unto them, and have committed unto us the word of reconciliation. See, that's another point of why we're not here to talk about how much you're an Israelite, how much you just read. That's not a word of reconciliation. Because what did we read the other day in Isaiah 59:1? It's your sins that got you separated from your Elohim, because his ear is not heavy that he cannot hear, and his arm is not short that he cannot save. So you're separated from him, so you need a word that can reconcile you to him. See, 99.9% of the things that we're out here teaching are not getting people reconciled. Why do you think the man teach you to forgive your neighbor and all these other things? Because that is the standard that he set first. See, that's what we're not understanding. Is that not the standard that he set first? Remember what I told you the other week about Matthew chapter 5, about verse 46? Does anybody know what Matthew chapter 5 and verse 46 says? Probably about verse 48. But 46 is fine. He say, be you perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. So perfect is integrity, is completeness, is innocence, is uprightness. So this is what he has done. So you have to understand something. That's why he said if you won't forgive somebody else your trespasses, he ain't going to forgive you. That's why he can stand up and do that, because he has already done it. Remember, it said when you were yet without strength, Mashiach died for the ungodly. So he reconciled himself to someone who was not worthy of his reconciliation. So you have to sit back and look at it. There is no trespass that a man can commit against another man that can equate to the unfaithfulness that Yasharal has shown to the living Elohim. So if he can forgive it, if an individual will bring forth fruits for me for repentance, then we're supposed to be able to do it also if we say that we are Elohim. Because if you say that you want somebody to forgive you for things that are worthy unto death, and an individual has not even did anything to you that is worthy unto death, and you can't forgive him, you ought to go to him. Do you know what I'm saying? Ought to be on a first class ticket. Because that's only just. Is that not a just weight and just balance? That's equally weighed out. But let's continue. Verse 20. Now then, we are ambassadors for Mashiach, as though Elohim did beseech you by us. We pray you in Mashiach's stead, be you reconciled to Elohim. See, every individual who preaches the gospel is standing in the place of the anointed one of Elohim, pleading for you to do what? What was the first words that this man spoke after John baptized him and it was time for him to start? He said, repent and believe the gospel. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. That's the first thing he said out of his mouth. Basically, be reconciled. You're separated. See, most people in this particular world do not know it. Most people have poor skills in two areas. That's conflict resolution and the ability to reconcile. Because if you're able to resolve conflict, then you can be able to reconcile with people. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't even need to reconcile because the conflict wouldn't cause a separation. But most people are too selfish, too arrogant, and too proud to be able to resolve conflict. Most things that people fall out about are not even that serious. You know what I'm saying? And it's immaturity. And for a grown man, see, this is the thing right here, right? You cannot say you are a man and you do not know how to resolve conflict, because leaders supposed to have the ability to resolve conflict. You know, it's funny, we were listening, and then Kevin Samuel last night, you know, he asked a question because I was talking to JoJo about this about getting on that boat. He was like the dude who trained him. He a millionaire, but he didn't become a millionaire until he was about 50, 65 years old, and he retired. But he asked the question, how old do you see generals, admirals? You ever seen a young general in the United States Army? Young admirals? Because you understand what a general is, right? That's a leader of the entire army. See, the highest position in the army outside of president, because that don't really count. You know what I'm saying? He ain't in the military. He just in the office. That's the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Are you familiar with the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Do you know who Colin Powell is? This black man. He was the first black Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's the highest office anybody can hold in the military. And before he became Joint Chiefs of Staff, he was a 5-star general. That man was well in his 50s. You think they're going to set a 20-year-old man to be over an entire military and be a leader of men? What level of wisdom and understanding and knowledge and experience would you have to be able to fulfill that level of responsibility? You know, an admiral is somebody who leads a fleet of battleships. Now, see, there's a reason for that. See, the word is the only construct where that's not the case. Because when Jeremiah went to prophesy, he was a young man. Timothy was a young man. Now, you couldn't serve in the priest's office till what age? 30 years old. Were you aware of that? Did you know that? Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, that's unfortunate. Not for real, because you just ain't never heard of it. Well, let me ask you this. Indeed, he was. Let me ask you this here. Do you know how old David was when he began to reign? You know how old he was? Are you sure? Yes. Sade, do you know how old Yahushua was when he began to preach? Huh? What's that? 30? Well, that's how old David was. Yes, sir. I can't do nothing for you. 30 years old. But like if Saran just put it in there, and so did Rohan. In the law, a priest You couldn't begin to serve in the priest office until you hit 30 and you retired at 50. You know what I'm saying? And that's just for the regardless of a certain level of maturity. See, we're just mentioning this here. How many men who don't play athletics or entertainment have you seen of millionaires that are in their 20s, in their 30s? You only see most men hit that when they hit their 40s. But the reason it being is the time period that it takes the labor to gain the experience to do so. Now, when it comes to the Ruach HaKodesh, that man can set men at any age that he wants to be able to do that, because it's a different type of leadership when it comes to that. It's a leadership by example and not a leadership of gathering individuals and galvanizing a group of men. Because see, I'm going to be honest with you, when it comes down to men, most men are not going to listen to a man who is younger than them. Like if you're talking about leading a group of men and the men look at you and you 25 years old and he's 40 and he's 37 and he's 50, they're not going to listen to him. I need y'all to sit down now. Shalom now. They're not going to listen to him. You might can get that because what do you see the example that the most younger men are going to reject older counsel because they feel like they do it themselves. See, Rehoboam is the example of that. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? Y'all don't know that dealing with men. Most men who are older, they're not going to listen and follow a younger man. They're not going to do it. They're going to look at it and what does this young man know? This is why Paul told Timothy, let no man despise your youth and stop you from doing it. Because if Elohim was put the gift upon you to do his service, it don't matter what anybody think or got to say. But Paul already knew, boy, just a young man, they're not going to listen to him. If a 17-year-old boy came up to you and tried to give you knowledge, wisdom, and understanding on life, would you listen to him? See, in theory, you're going to say, oh, I'll listen to anybody. But you're not following no teenage boy, and you know you're not. It ain't even on that, because you're going to look at what experience in life that you got to lead me. That's one of the part of the reasons what they had. You say you experienced that at 20. That's just being honest with you. The only time people do it is on the job, and they still be mad. I don't know if y'all been on a job where young men got promoted and moved up, and older men had to listen to him. They don't like him. They feel like, who is this nigga? But that man might be more confident and equipped to do the job than you are. But see, you got a lot of people who old and stupid. You know what I'm saying? You can relate. You know a lot of old and stupid people. Oh, you work with them or you just know them? They're your good friend? No, don't be hating on your friends. If they're your friends, baby, they're your friends. Verse 21, 2 Corinthians 5. He say, for he had made him to be sin for us who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of Elohim in him. Peace, man. Word. You know what I'm saying? You gotta sit back and look at that, man. Think about that. Imagine how them chief priests and scribes felt seeing Yahushua at 30 years old and he know more than them. And people listening to him. You know what I'm talking about? Because see, now in our people, right, you had kings. What's the they gonna mention your age real quick. Who is you to tell me, son? Who can remember what's the youngest age of any king in the history of Yasharal, either kingdom? What's the youngest age? 8 years old. And guess what? These people ain't want to listen to nothing Josiah we're talking about at 8 years old. How could you? This boy is only about 4 years removed from doodling on himself. Let me move on, man. Let me move on. Where we was holding. Oh, yeah. Let me come back to Isaiah 46. Now, hold on. He was supervised at a rehab center. Well, that's good. Hey, that means shoot. The older supervisor seen something. See, don't get me wrong. Like just like that's why I mentioned Paul. Paul knew Timothy. How did Timothy get the ruach? How did he get it? Do y'all recall how he got it? Does anybody recall? Y'all on here too. Anybody recall how Paul wrote in his letter how Timothy got the ruach? No. Anybody? I give you about another 30 seconds on the stream anyway. Paul circumcised him? No, sir. No, sir. I guess I'm going to have to pull the verse. Come on around here to what it is, 1 Timothy chapter 3. Who over there doing all that yelling? Who is over there doing all that yelling? It might be 2 Timothy. Make sure I'm in the right spot. I might be in the wrong spot. I might have been worried right the first time. My apologies. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 3. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 3. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 3. No, sir. No, sir. We finna read it right now. Matter of fact, you can pick it up at one. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. Paul, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach by the will of Elohim, according to the promise of life which is in Mashiach Yahushua, to Timothy, my dearly beloved son, grace, mercy, and peace from Elohim, Abba, and Mashiach Yahushua our Lord. I thank Elohim, whom I serve from my forefathers with pure conscience, that without ceasing I have remembrance of you in my prayers night and day, greatly desiring to see you, being mindful of your tears, that I might be filled with joy. When I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, I am also persuaded that is in you also. Wherefore I put you in remembrance that you stir up the gift of Elohim, which is in you, by the putting on of my hands. See, he got that gift, he laid hands on it. Do you not recall that they gave the Ruach also by laying hands on people? That's how he got it. He laid hands on it. Because see, the gift of Elohim knows no age. You know what I'm saying? The gift of Elohim ain't got nothing to do with no age. So I didn't want you to understand that. That does not mean that any young man cannot serve in the capacity of Elohim, as if it's Elohim's will for him to do so. Remember, Jeremiah was a young man when he was a young man. True, David wasn't that old before he became king. David was a young shepherd boy. David probably was in his late teens, early 20s by the time he came up and started fooling with Saul. But when he took Goliath down, he was not a grown man. Let's come back over here to Isaiah chapter 46. Yes, sir. He was anointed by the apostles. So you can get the Ruach from 3 avenues in the text. You can get it from hearing the word, the laying on the hands of someone who has it, and by baptism. That's how you can get it. See, most bruisers they look at Christians funny because Christians like to lay hands on people. Some like to lay hands in an inappropriate fashion. I ain't saying that to be just being honest. Some of them people are nasty and they do things they ought not. But come on back to Isaiah 46 though. We pick it up at verse 9. He say, remember the former things of old, for I am Elohim, there is none else. I am Elohim, and there is none like me. Declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure. Well, that's in my mind, because remember, that's what they're going to say about the beast, right? Who is like unto the beast? One of the key components that you need to remember about the beast. I want you to recall something in John chapter, I think it's 13 and 29 or 34. It's not bad. Come over here to John 14, because I believe I said it wrong, and if I said it wrong, you ain't going to have it right. Oh, the page is gone. The page is gone. I want you to come to John chapter 14, verse 25. These things have I spoken unto you, being yet present with you. But the Comforter, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, whom Abba will send in my name, he shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I said unto you. Now see, Paul, this is going to take us back to talking about Isaiah 45. See, that Comforter, that Ruach HaKodesh, is not going to come to you and teach you all things until you have the truth, until you have the meekness, until you have the righteousness. And you cannot get the righteousness unless you believe the truth, and you can only hear the truth unless the word is being preached unto you. And once the word is preached unto you and you receive it, then clearly you ought to yield to it. Then once the word is in you, see that it brings everything to mind. See, some individuals have not had that experience. I told you that in the past. Most people expect if the word come to mind that you're going to hear book, chapter, and verse. And that's not how that works. His word come to mind. It's not going to tell you this is Jonah chapter 1, verse 4. If you're looking for that, yeah, you got a problem. But that's not what's going to happen. See, you have to remember, book, chapter, and verse is a new construct. That's not something they had in ancient times. It was just simply the word. See, if you focused on book, chapter, and verse, that means you're not laying the word up in your heart. You worry about the wrong thing. You need to have the roadmap and the blueprint on the inward parts instead of worrying about if I can remember what a verse said. That's not important. What is important if you find yourself in a situation and circumstances and the word come to mind to direct your path and guide your feet. Or when you're faced with some manner of trouble, some manner of persecution, some manner of tribulation or adversity whatsoever, that the word of Elohim comes to mind to comfort you. See, that's what happens when he dwells presently with you. If he doesn't dwell presently with you, no word comes to mind because you don't dwell in him and he don't dwell in you. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a negative thing. It just means he doesn't dwell with you at this present time. And that's it. It's only a negative thing if you evil. No, don't give it just because you like, man, the word don't never come to mind for me. That doesn't mean that you're evil. It just means that he don't dwell in you and you don't dwell in him. That means you need to get your faith up. That's all that means. That's not a I don't want you to think that that's an indictment. Oh man, the word will never come. But if the word come to mind to you and you don't listen to it, oh, then you got a problem. Okay. Oh, you looking like that word that came to mind, you don't listen? You a hard-headed, you ain't listen. He told you don't make that right. You went ahead and bust that right anyway. Ran right into the train, right into a car accident. You should have went straight. I done had people tell me they didn't have stuff come to mind, they don't never listen. They're like, oh, wait, I should have, because you're stupid. You know what I'm saying? You're stupid. I ain't going to tell you every time something comes to mind, that's the Lord, but shoot, if something is giving you a pre-warning, you might ought to listen. Where we at, right? Verse 27. Shalom I leave with you. My shalom I give unto you, not as the world give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. You have heard how I said unto you, I go away and come again unto you. If you love me, you will rejoice. Because I said I go unto my Abba is greater than I. And now have I told you before it come to pass, that when it comes to pass, you might believe. See, that's the difference between the beast. What did he tell you in Deuteronomy 13? He said, even if these people prophecies come to pass, you better not listen. Because see, the beast ain't going to be able to tell you something before it happened that you might know that that's Elohim. He's not declaring the end from the beginning. So don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't get caught up with the okie doke. That's what happens with a lot of people. Now, I need y'all to come over here to Exodus chapter 12 for the purpose of visiting things in regards to Passover. But see, we're not coming to where y'all think we're going to come. I need to see what verse I want specifically. Yeah, this is what I want. First and foremost, let me work around because we're going to have to drop down a little bit. I want you to come to verse 21 of Exodus chapter 12. Verse 21. Then Moses called for all the elders of Yasharal and said unto them, draw you out and take a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. Now, I want to look at something. In a moment. Nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. But let's look at this lamb, right? Just the characters. You got Sod, Aleph, and Nun, and you can go ahead and give me what you have for that. Sod, Aleph, and Nun. Sod, Aleph, and Nun. Muffin man. Muffin man. Oh, you were asleep, huh, Muffin man? What's up, buddy? Good? Fresh? Cool? Living good? As simple as that. The Yahusha is the way of life. When he said, this is the lamb that do what? To take away the sin of the world. When you take sin away, that gives life. Well, how is the sin going to be taken away? Through the truth, the meekness, and the righteousness, because this is how you will learn the fear of Yahuwah. Because by the humility and the fear of Yahuwah is riches, honor, and life. So without submission and reverence, there is no life. That's why Yahushua is the way of life, because that's what he taught you, submission and reverence. See, remember, did Yahushua have to go around and consistently and constantly tell you that he loved his father? There was no need. See, let's read Matthew 17 one time. Well, see, that's different if you get in the conversation, because see, you more than talking about edifying somebody. See, I'm not talking about the word coming to mind to edify somebody. I'm talking about the word coming to mind for direction of that specific individual. Yeah, I'm talking about that particular individual. Because, I mean, you very well may not need to be dispensing any words, but more so we talking about you're faced with a situation or circumstance and the word come to mind. Eugene. You all right? You good? You can go on back and sit down, son. You look like you were comfortable. I didn't mean for you to get on up. I just want you to come over here to Matthew chapter 17. I didn't want you to pick up verse 4. I mentioned it last night, but I just want you to see it because we're going to correlate this with another man. And you should know. Stop playing over there or I'll your behinds. Go find your father. Go find your father. You're a hard-headed little boy. Then answered Peter and said unto Yahushua, Lord, is it good for us to be here? If you will, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, this is my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. Hear ye him. Who else was told that they were beloved? Daniel. Why was Daniel beloved? What does the text say about Daniel and why he would be described? Why a Malakim would come and tell him, oh man, greatly beloved? Man after his own heart. Do y'all recall? It's specific things that it states. You don't know? What's your problem? Why are you looking like it? You what? You don't know? Come over here to Daniel chapter 6. We'll look at Daniel 6 and Daniel 1. Just bear with me. It's all many things that come together with this right here, what we got going on. Daniel 6 and 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was the first. The princes might give account unto them that the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the president and princes because of an excellent ruach was in him. The king sought to set him over the whole realm. The presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no occasion or fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. So the thing is, he had an excellent ruach in him. He was faithful. You know what I'm talking about? And it wasn't no fault, no errors in it. Hey, boy, where you at, boy? You on the street? You supposed to be in the harm, man. Think about that. And also, I want you to recall this here. Daniel was a young man. Y'all do know that, right? Daniel was a young man. See, come over here to Daniel chapter 1. I want you to see the other avenue of how he was explained, how he was described. Daniel chapter 1 and verse 3. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the sons of Yasharal, of the king's seed and of the princes, sons in whom was no blemish, well favored, skillful in all wisdom, cunning and knowledge, understanding science, and such had the ability in them to stand in the king's palace, whom they might teach the learning in the tongue of the Chaldeans. Notice how he said they had no blemish, they were well favored, and they had skill and wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Let's look what it say for science. First things first, when we look at blemish, that is moon, that is mean, olive, ooh, and mean, and that is no moral defect, no physical stain, no spots. As I mentioned that, come over here to Job chapter 11, because we're just going to roll this evening, nonstop action. Job 11 and 17. Make sure that's where I want. Oh, that's Proverbs. That ain't Job. Proverbs. Not 17. Job 11 and 13. Oh, you on the way? Okay, shoot. I don't know how you that late. Shoot, I ain't know you ain't had nothing to do. Shoot, boy, 10 o'clock. If you prepare your heart and stretch out your hands towards him. Now you have to remember the Lamb was slain from the foundation of the world. He prepared his heart. How was his hand stretched out to him? Paul wrote in one of his epistle letters that all men should raise up Kadash hands, and two things that they should not have when they raise those hands up. Who recalls what those two things are? Doubting is one. Huh? No. Pride wasn't one of them, but pride is the root of the other one, though. It can't be a cause. Pride can be a cause of this one here. He said, lift up Kadash hands to Elohim without wrath and doubt. Why did he tell you not to have wrath? Because wrath works not the righteousness of Elohim. See, again, we talk about having how this man taught you through truth, meekness, and righteousness, the fear of Yahuwah. Because when he was up there on that stage, we can talk about it last week. What were they doing to the man? They was mocking him. They were disrespecting him. Remember, he's hanged up on the tree. Are his hands stretched out? Was he not crying out to his father? And when he cried out to his father, what did he say? Abba, forgive him. So there's no wrath in his heart. See, right then and there, he taught you to fear Yahuwah, and he taught you long suffering, how you should be able to take injury with patience. Because not damn one of you niggas ever had nobody who was killing you for doing right, and you had the ability to forgive them in the midst. See, that's Elohim right there. See, they don't want to talk about that. See, they don't want to talk about that on Passover because that means they got to be godly. See, like I told you what the brother Sean stated, yeah, and Stephen did the same thing, amen. Dudes want to make it a spectacle, and that's their fitness. But is it a spectacle for Elohim or is it a spectacle for you? The reason why I say this here is dudes will make a spectacle for the first day of Passover and not gather again until the last day. You know what I'm talking about? They won't gather again. They'll make a big old spectacle of day one. For me, Passover, unleavened bread, it's all the same thing. I don't get caught up in that. You know what I'm saying? What dudes, it's all the same thing to me as far as I'm concerned. Feast of unleavened bread, Passover, it's all the same. You know what 8 days, the 14th to the 21st, nigga. You know what time it is. And for most bruisers, y'all know this here. You will see them have fanfare on day one, and you ain't, and that's the wrap. Ain't no day two, no day, and I ain't talking about some might get together on the last Sabbath and do that there, but outside of that, nothing. So is it really fanfare for Elohim, or is it fanfare for man? You know what I'm saying? You decorate up real nice, like you put on your nice fancy clothes. You make sure you take pictures and videos so everybody can see what you're doing. You know what I'm talking about? And then you go home after that, and it's business as usual. There's a reason why I state this here, because when they were in the land, them people didn't go home after day one. They were there for the duration. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a spectacle, if you would. See, this goes back to why he tell you that I don't want your feast days. They're an abomination to me. Because your heart's not correct while you're doing it. See, I told y'all that's many a time, many a year. See, if your heart is not correct, you might as well stay home. There's no need for you to leave the house. Ain't even no need for you to cut on a tree. If your heart is not proper, stay home. Because he's not going to accept it. Let me show you why I say what I say. Amos chapter 5. Look at him. There you go. That boy been missing like a POW. You know what a POW is? That's a prisoner of war. That nigga been a prisoner to his own mind. Oh, I ain't fooling with you this evening, sir. I'm not fooling with you. Let me make sure I'm in the right place for what I desire. Oh, I can't. My location is escaping me at this moment. Fooling with an old T. You know what? Come over here to Amos chapter 4, verse 4. I'll use that one there to you who are willing. What I desire come to mind. Y'all willing, it's going to come in just a moment. But you can come get Amos 4 and 4. You know what? I think chapter 5 is what I need. Nevertheless, 4 and 4. He say, come to Bethel and transgress. At Gilgal, multiply transgressions and bring your sacrifices every morning and your tithes after 3 years. And you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving with leaven. That boy say you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving with leaven. Hold on now. Let's get Thanksgiving for the people in the back that don't know. We still got Daniel chapter 1 and Exodus chapter 12 and Isaiah and Psalm 45. Just bear with me. We will walk it all the way down. If you would permit. But like I said, y'all know how I get when I got multiple days. I just take my time and just walk it down from day to day. I ain't in no rush. All we doing is just telling a long story. You tell a long story, you ain't got to rush the story. You can take your time and tell it. Now y'all know what that is. That's Todah. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's saying. But he said you bring 11 with it. So let's talk about this 11. And after that, I guess we can pull what Paul talked about with 11 just on the house. You can go ahead and write. This is 11, right? This is Kamat. I want you to get it for me real quick. You got Kot, you got Mean, and you got Sod. You give me what you got for it, right? That's ferment. That's extortion. See, that 11 is considered to be extortion. Y'all know how the text describes extortion, right? Violence. Violent oppression, if you would. You got Kot, Mean, and Sod. I want you to think real quick because he said you give a Thanksgiving with leaven in it. Not with leaven in it. Your wickedness, your sin is going to get you separated. You don't get no different than that. Now, come over here to 1 Corinthians, what it is, chapter 5. Because remember what he told you, right? Bring your sacrifices every morning, your tithe. Let me finish the verse. You offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving with leaven and proclaim and publish the free offerings. For this, like you, O sons of Yasharal, saith Yahuwah Elohim. He said, you love to come with them old fake giving the thanks you give. See, remember when we were talking about praise? See, if you're going to bring praise, what you got? That's a public proclamation. On top of that, that is respect. On top of that, that is acceptance. Along with that, that is an investment. And of course, you become ecstatic. So if you have not invested into the vision or the plan, i.e. the meekness, the humility, the ability to yield, the anava, then guess what you're not going to do? You're not going to have the respect or the yirah or the fear of Elohim is not going to be present. And what is that going to allow you not to do? You're not going to accept what he wants you to do. See, if you're a woman and your man asks you to do something and you have a problem with accepting it, that is a problem. And see, if you think I'm talking about somebody who was born with a vagina, you're sadly mistaken. Because what did Elohim tell you to do? He said, what did he require of man? That you walk fearfully and mourn with your Elohim. Is that not what he stated in the prophet Micah? That's all. And mercy and faith, that's what he said he delighted in. The man is not asking for much, but you don't want to accept it. And you know why you don't want to accept it? Because you want to do what you want to do. Because you feel like your will is greater than his. But as Paul wrote to the epistle to the Romans, what profit have you had in those things of which you are now ashamed? So then you have to look at back your whole life. What gain did you get from anything that you chose to do that was not in accordance to the will of Elohim? What gain did you get? How did you benefit from that? How did you prosper from that? Because the text tells you that the way of rebels is hard, it's difficult. See, we don't sit back and look at the more you rebel, the worse it gets for you. Most people look at it, you look at people prospering materially, but a lot of those people be miserable. See, like I told you before, it's a lot of people in the earth that say a lot of things on a lot of topics, but when it comes to the word of Elohim, well, these niggas can't say nothing. I don't care if a nigga say, oh, I'm a Christian. I don't care what you call yourself. That don't mean you know this book. Because you pop up on a Sunday or you pop up on a Shabbat, that don't mean you know Elohim, nigga. That means nothing to me. Because if you espouse things that are contrary to his will, then this word is going to condemn you. I'm not going to do it. His word going to do it. And truth be told, most people speak a word of condemnation against themselves. See, the people spoke a word of condemnation against themselves. Let his blood be on our children. They spoke that on their own head. Nevertheless, hey, little muffin. Hey, muffin man. Hey. Oh, you still asleep? Very well, good sir. It's another verse. It might be chapter 8. It's another verse in here about feast day. And it's escaping my brain. It's frustrating me at this time. What you say that smells delicious? Oh yeah, I was right the first time. Amos chapter 5. I knew I wasn't tripping. 5 and 18. Oh, praise the Lamb. We still got Daniel 1, Psalm 45, and Exodus chapter 12. Make that 5 and 6. Matter of fact, make it 5 and 14. Amos 5 and 14. Seek good and not evil, that you may live. And so Yahuwah, the Elohim of hosts, shall be with you as you have spoken. Hate the evil, love the good, establish judgment and decay. It may be that Yahuwah Elohim of hosts will be gracious unto the remnant of Joseph. Therefore Yahuwah, the Elohim of hosts, saith, the Lord say thus, wailing shall be in all the streets, and they shall say in the highway, alas, alas, and they shall cut the husbandman in the morning, and such as are skillful of lamentation for wailing. And all vineyards shall be wailing, for I will pass through you, saith Yahuwah, destruction unto you that desire the day of Yahuwah. To what end is it for you? The day of Yahuwah is darkness and not light, as if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met it, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and the serpent bit it. Shall not the day of Yahuwah be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? I hate and despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Though you offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the shalom offerings of your fat feasts. Now, according to the book of Proverbs, why will he not take these offerings and these feast days of which you offer? Why? Because in the book of Isaiah, he said he ain't like your feast days because your hands is covered with blood. Now, we done talked about that before. If your hands covered with blood, that means they covered with sin. Because remember, what does the law say? His blood be upon you. You commit something, that blood on you. That's why you needed somebody to wash it off. But that's another conversation for another day. But why does he despise you? What does the book of Proverbs say about sacrifices? See, the book of Proverbs tells you that a sacrifice of a wicked individual is an abomination to Yahuwah. So when he tells you that you offering Thanksgiving with leaven, that man said, this is I don't want this. Because you got that meme in there, there's sin in here. It's blood in here. It's confusion in here. I don't want that. See, a lot of people can't deal. See, it's the same situation. Like, and the one thing the dude said that, which is accurate, about all the brews going crazy, about these boys being in the club with the half-naked host. You know what I'm saying? Now, the thing about it was, and the brother later on came and admitted that they could have demanded who they rented the club from to demand these women to put on some clothes. But they chose not to do so for whatever reason. That's neither here nor there, because I don't really care about them niggas. Niggas rented a club to celebrate Passover in, and then the club owner allegedly said, hey, man, you got to let sinners come in after a certain time because I got to get my money. And maybe that's accurate. That's their business. That's not the issue. The issue is how niggas went haywire. You know what I'm talking about? All these niggas in a strip club. So what them niggas in a strip club? You niggas evil, and you at the house keeping Passover. But you want to fixate on these niggas because they got butt naked hoes in there. You know what I'm talking about? That's their business. They got butt naked hoes. They said we like to drink, and they serving us this liquor, and that's what they were concerned with. But the fact is how niggas running, because you looking at they sacrifice with 11, but is your sacrifice with 11? Remember what Yahusha? If they sinners above all sinners, he say no, because except you repent, you gonna like why I care, because that's all niggas want to fixate on was these niggas had butt naked hoes. Nigga, I seen that jump like, oh, that's wild. Keep it moving. You know what I'm talking about? That's the business. Now, if I was to rent a club for a certain, ain't no way, oh, you ain't letting no shit. I done paid my money. You shut that hoe down all night. Ain't nobody coming in here. I done paid my money. You know what I'm talking about? And already at the door, oh, you know, my girls, they dress scantily clad with them whole better cover up tonight. Because if they don't cover up tonight, well, we'll do this to the house, nigga. I'll take my business elsewhere. But see, there's some of that stuff come from niggas not thinking about it because you're not looking at it as a big deal. See, a lot of stuff you do in life, you don't realize how negative of a bad look it is until after it's done. See, when they went to see, most individuals not looking at that from a mature state of mind. You could tell because of the words that they said after the fact. They weren't thinking about this was a big deal when they did it. It wasn't until you seen how people reacted that you look at it and say, you know what? That was not the best course of action. But see, I'm mentioning that there because niggas want to point at them how they keeping the feast, and niggas giving Thanksgiving all across the world, and that's full of that. Because I mentioned because all niggas want to do was cause chaos, sharing that video and giving they 2 cents and talking about this and talking about that instead of keeping it very simple, just like that. That is not appropriate in the eyesight of Elohim. That's all that need to be said. No need to be like these camps or this or these niggas wicked at that. Simple as that. That is not righteous and just and acceptable in the eyesight of Elohim. Keep it moving. You think Yahushua would be doing all this stuff these niggas be out here doing anytime a group get caught outside with? Truth be told, messing with the Lord, he probably wouldn't have said nothing. You know what I'm saying? He probably would have walked right on by him like, them niggas wild, and keep on going. Or look at his apostles and say, you see them niggas right there? Don't fool with them. Don't be like them. Them boys, they're wild. You know what I'm talking about? I'm just mentioning that because, you know, we'll go, hey, look at the wickedness. They got us looking bad. The Lord would have walked right by him. Well, I heard that man say, well, we go in the club and preach the word. Well, you lying to me. He talking about the security pat me down, fill my Bible, spark a conversation. Well, you ain't in no club to teach no Bible, boy. That nigga say, and he in Atlanta. Well, you know what's in Atlanta. Freak hoes and trannies. Well, you ain't going to preach the word. Ain't number freak hoes and trannies around that boy. And not necessarily in that order. I forgot one. And lonely women. There's a lot of lonely women. You know what I'm saying? But they ain't got nobody to freak because nobody don't want. Well, you know that's something crazy. When you see attractive women, don't nobody want them. There's something wrong with you. Somebody trying to be fooled up with you. Come on back over here to Daniel so we can eclipse those words and keep it moving. My bad. We didn't get 1 Corinthians 5. That's my apologies. Now that judge just was crazy. To see that I let her. We were watching the because when I saw the video I put in the chat, I had caught it when he was premiering, so I ain't see it from the beginning. So we were looking at it from the beginning. That nigga didn't know how it gets mad. So that nigga explained that. That nigga said, "This ain't right." She said, "This ain't right." You know what I'm talking about? And he said, "Brother, you gotta have balance." He said, "Sometimes you need to be carnal, nigga." What? Not that type of carnal. Because guess what? At the end of the day, somebody said something like he said something accurate. You're a man. So as a man, why would you put yourself in a position to view hoes with their booty cheeks out clapping for dollars? They're not clapping for dollars like on the pole. They're clapping for dollars for a tip. You know what I'm saying? They gonna twerk, smirk. They gonna do all that there when they bring that bottle. Anybody who's been in the club where they got bottle girls, them girls gonna do a little, you know what I'm saying, a little extra for a tip. That's just come with the territory. You know what I'm talking about? But the point is why would you put yourself in a position? Because you a man, you like women, you gonna look. Now, guess what? She may not be married, and you not maybe if you desire her, but now you done laid down yourself down the wrong road, and now you finna do a nigga thing. So now what you gonna do is, you think, look at me, I'm a righteous man, and you finna try to get a whore off the street and convert her. That is simping. When a nigga said that, that's the first thing I said. Boy, that's simple. You supposed to be a righteous man who can cold approach a worldly whore and convert her to the word, talking about you got to win a soul. Nigga, you simple. And I tell that nigga, that's his faith. Nigga, you simple. Nigga, that's the definition of simple. Where are you going to cold approach a woman of the world? Nigga, this hoe got a thong in her booty. And you talking about you can win her to the word. Nigga, you trying to win her to your meat. That's what you trying to win her to. You know what I'm talking about? You can tell another nigga that. He ain't gonna die and tell me that. Shoot, that ain't no win. That's why, guess what? That's why all them Hebrew boys be right here talking about they old lady this and they old lady that. They be doing it. You went out here and cold approached the center and tried to win on over. Now you mad. Now what's wrong with you? Tell me I'm winning over with some rice. No, she look good. Because unfortunately, no disrespect, there's a lot of women who I be seeing on Facebook getting these words. These whole fat and ugly. These boys looking like this here. I don't do that. Am I lying though? These boys be like this here. Well, these women, they be like, this is a true story what most Brews say. IUIC got all the good looking women. And none of these boys want to be a part of IUIC. I'm just telling you what I see other Brews say. I don't know what is the case, but I know a lot of them chicks I knew on my timeline, they wouldn't even want to try. You know what I'm talking about? And these boys are like, no, you went around here looking like middle linebackers and D tackles. You know what I'm talking about? Some of them come around here, they mid-30s, got 4, 5 kids, and want a nigga to come through and save them. Then they get mad at them boys when them boys say they want virgins. Talking about how many women virginity you took. That's not the point. I done seen a couple women get mad because these boys said they want virgins. Why he want you? Shoot, you been up and down the highway, baby. You done dropped loads off from California to Texas. Then shot back up to Minnesota, then shot to the East Coast. Don't nobody want all that. You's a truck ride. You've been on the highway and not the flyway either. You know what I'm talking about? That's an experience ride. You know what I'm saying? And this is the reason why I said it's not necessarily the sex with a lot of women. I mean, a lot of men. But some of them have a lot of women. It's the lack of. It's going to be the inability to be able to bond with another man in a serious fashion. You can't turn around and have sex with a whole bunch of people and then think you're going to be able to bond with a man after you finish. Yeah. Huh? See, you can't as a woman. A woman can't have sex with a whole bunch of people and then think when you're tired of having sex that you're going to be able to find a man to bond with. You're going to have too much baggage from being with too many different men and experiences with too many men to be able to actually yield and become one with a particular man. You can't be out here whoring and snoring like that and make that work. Like who that was? One of y'all put that in the chat where that man said, come out, what make a woman a whore? Because you choose who you have sex with. A woman can have sex anytime she wants. A man can have sex with who will let him. That's why it makes it worse when a woman whores around. Because the only chance a man gets to have sex with who he wants to have sex with is if he's elevated himself in the top echelon of men. Then he got choices. I don't want to have sex with you. I'm going to have sex with you, and you. Because guess what? 99.9% of women got a price. That nigga walk in with the right enough money, you'll leave your nigga and toot your booty in there. Because we just heard that woman say if her husband had billionaire money and he cheated on her, she would have turned her head. But since he don't make enough money, she got a problem with it. And shoot, I've been doing that my whole life. See, I'm not naive to simply take my time out. Oh, wouldn't no woman do that? Let a nigga walk in and say, I got $1 billion. Oh, you coming with me? For the average woman, I'm out. It's been nice knowing you. You can keep the kids. I'm going to holler at you. Because we know that the average woman is never going to have the opportunity to meet a nigga with that type of money to make that proposition. You ain't worried about it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because I just don't want no nigga to feel like, hey man, I'm talking about especially if they ain't got no word in them, that they gonna be that low. You know what I'm talking about? Look at that. So nigga walk in talking about he worth 100 million and I want you. And you like this here, shoot, that nigga only make $65. You out. Look how you looking. You like, so live, first life. That's what y'all say. But see, that's the reason why I say it's so far-fetched, because you know the likelihood of it happening is infinitesimal. You know what I'm saying? It's so minuscule that the first thing you're gonna say is, "Oh, I wouldn't do that," because you ain't gonna be faced with the opportunity. You ain't gonna be faced with the opportunity. But if a nigga walked in and he had that kind of money and say, "Hey man, I'm trying to bust your back up and put you in my house," you be like this here, "Well, I love that nigga while they laugh, but I got to go." And you can lie to yourself, but you ain't gonna lie to me. You'll leave your children behind. What children? That's what you say. That's what you say right now. That's what you say. You'll be like, that's when you click in your head. You're like, you know what? That is his seed. You need to raise it, and you go. I'm just trying to give you a real perspective. Because guess what? That's how the devil get niggas. Yeah. I'm trying to give you something now. That's how the devil get niggas, because niggas got Christ. See, that's why I'm trying to tell you. That's why you got to have the truth, the fear, and the righteousness. See, again, we talking about if you're in Elohim, that's not going to happen. But how many people that rooted though? Because one thing we know about women, y'all like two things: that money and power. Yeah, you can crown your face up all you want. All women like money and power. It's in your nature. The power part more specifically, because that's the individual you look at, you'll say this person can protect my seed, my offspring. You want to breed, I just told you that last week. You want to breed with the strongest possible man you can find. There's no way around that. That's natural instinct of a female species, irregardless, no matter the mammal. So no woman want to have no child with no weak man on purpose. See, most women have children with weak men because they were being irresponsible. You know what I'm talking about? See, you didn't have proper vagina management. You didn't guard over your uterus. You didn't consider who you were giving your eggs to. You didn't consider that. All you considered was, I want my clit stimulated. At the end of the day, you can spin it how you want it. You wanted sexual gratification. Because why would you have intercourse with a man that you would not deem worthy enough to lead you if sexual gratification was not your motivation? See, again, right, this here, right? You can get out here and you can tell your friends whatever you want. But I know you're lying. You know what I'm talking about? I know you're lying. You did it because you were horny. You got high and you wanted somebody to cool you off, and you were not considering the manner and character and value of man who you were laying with. See, some of y'all right now think about every man you had sexual intercourse with before you got married or before you had a child. Like, dang, I sure didn't have no business letting that man put up, but I was horny. He looked good to me. You know what I'm saying? You didn't think about it. Well, guess what? That's no different than when you come around here dealing with people who are of the world and of Satan. You're not considering who you fooling with. You're not considering who you joining yourself to and how the negative after effects are going to come from you doing that. See, that's why women in this world have this notion that they're so elevated and so great. I.e., that's why Yasharal feel that way. But why are you great? What have you done to substantiate your greatness? Oh, you think you're great because you exist? You think you're great because you breathe? You think you're great because you have a vagina and titties and there's 3-4 billion other women who have the same thing you got? Or you think you're great because you of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Well, you're of the sand of the sea, so how are you great? See, it said that Yahushua will be called great and the son of the highest. Why? Let's look at John chapter 1. Let me read this 1 Corinthians chapter 5 while I'm over here, man. Come over here 5 and 6. And then we'll go to Luke chapter 1. So you gotta walk, if you, and all this is in regard to is respect. See, again, because we done talked about this before. Those of you who was raised by your father, they didn't teach you to respect yourself. You thought they did. They just gave you general information. They did not really hammer it in your head for you to respect yourself. Because if you would have hammered it in your head to respect yourself, then you would have more wisely considered who you gave your womb to, especially Raw. Because all y'all done had Raw sex. You ain't sit back and say you made that man put no condom on every time you laid with him. You know you did. And most niggas in that room, the shoot, she on the ass, I ain't doing it. There, back.
This was the look on his face.
Standing like shit, shoot. That was me, boy, living dangerously. And y'all was on college campuses living dangerously. Lucky you ain't come back with the cloud. Look how you looking. You was living dangerously in high school. No, I wasn't. That's what you tell us. It ain't been verified. It's alleged. Not your very first time. That's how you knew you weren't supposed to be doing it. Wrong. That means your eggs was ready, huh? Look at you now. A veteran. Pushing babies out left and right. A veteran. 1 Corinthians 5 and 6. Your esteeming is not good. Know you not that a little leaven leaving the whole lump. So guess what? That whole lump of your Thanksgiving is worthless to the man. He ain't gonna accept it. Because if you got a little leaven to leaven the whole lump and you giving a Thanksgiving with leaven, that means he don't hear your prayer because he don't hear the prayers of sinners because you regard iniquity in your heart. Oh no. He say, purge out therefore the old leaven that you might be a new lump as you are unleavened, for even Mashiach, our Passover is sacrificed for us. Now, if you are a new leaven and you got rid of the old leaven, then guess what? Guess what you done got rid of? That means if you purged out the old leaven, that means the unbelief is replaced with the amah. That means if you purged out the old leaven, you got the new leaven, or the unleavened, that's what that means. You got rid of pride and you picked up the meekness. That means you put out the unrighteousness and you picked up the righteousness that you might reverence your husband. See, you have to remember that. See, the example of what he did to Pharaoh was the individual who had the old leaven. He didn't want to purge it out because he said, let my people go that they might serve me. He said, my heart is hard. Who is Yahuwah that I might let them go? See, he had that old leaven. He didn't want to purge it out till after the wrath came. Now it's too late. Let's continue. Therefore, let us keep the feast not with old leaven, either with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. Notice what he said to get rid of: malice and wickedness. If you're wicked, what does that mean? You're disagreeable. You're doing evil things. You're doing things that are not just in the eyesight of Allah. He said, get rid of that. So if you keep the feast with that, that means you giving a Thanksgiving, a sacrifice of Thanksgiving with leaven in it. He don't want it. He don't want it. He finds it disrespectful. What I mentioned, man, Luke 1. Luke 1 and 30. And remember, we're talking about the Lamb of Elohim, what I mentioned, which is the song, which is what? Yahushua is the way of life. That's why I say they go to Lamb of Elohim to take away the sin of the world. That Lamb, which is the way of life, how is he leading you to the way of life? Through the Amah, the Anava, and the Sadat, or the truth, the meekness, and the righteousness, so you can learn to reverence Elohim. Because through that humility and reverence will come your riches, your honor, and your life. We talked about the honor a little bit last night. How do you expect to be honored and you don't submit? Do you think anyone is worthy of honor when you don't fulfill the will of the person who you seek to honor you? Does that make any sense? That doesn't make any sense. You want a man to honor you, but you don't want to submit to what his will. And see, again, when I say submit to his will, I'm not talking about I want you to do this and do this for me. If you have a will, that means you have a vision, a plan, a purpose for the individual to fit in to fulfill. See, asking someone to cook and clean, that is not fulfilling my will because that serves no purpose. That would be akin to what he told Peter. He said, what if I told him to stay here occupied till I come? What is that to you? That means my will for him is to do, he's not supposed to serve me no purpose other than to wait for me. But see, you have to look at that. You have to juxtapose that from the spiritual, from the natural to the spiritual, because that just don't pertain to just a natural form. Oh, is that little much? She doesn't sound pleased. Luke 1 and 30. And the Malachim said unto her, fear not, Mary, for you have found favor with Elohim, and behold, you shall conceive in your womb and bring forth a son. You shall call his name Yahusha. He shall be called great. He shall be called the Son of the Highest. And Yahuwah Elohim shall give unto him the throne of his father David. How does he become the Son of the Highest? How does that happen? He has to sacrifice himself in order to do that, which means that he had to have truth, meekness, and righteousness in order to do that. That's the only way that he was going to be called the Son of the Highest. He had to offer himself. If you're not willing to offer yourself, you're not going to take on that title. If you don't have any level of humility, any level of benevolence, any level of meekness, it's impossible. Again, the book tells you that the virtuous woman will be praised by proxy of doing what? Fearing Yahuwah. That means she has to have a level of reverence and respect. If you were not raised with a man being the head of the household, how are you really going to be able to transition to have that level of reverence and respect for another man? It's going to be very difficult for you to do so because you're going to have the inclination to go along with your natural instinct as a woman and buck. I'm not listening. Catch an attitude of this, that, and the third because you were never brought up to have level of reverence and respect for a man, which in turn, you're not going to teach that to your son. So then your son's not going to have respect for other men. And therefore, that's why you see what you see out here in this world. You know what I'm saying? And what is that meaning? You got niggas who are carnal, who are i.e. his woman and his wife, who's supposed to be doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then they're teaching their sons or the individuals of those assemblies to be carnal, and that's why you see the lack of fear of Elohim in the earth. That's why you see that. See the what? Because we could take that to the point. Do the scribes and Pharisees have the fear of Elohim in them? Absolutely not. And what did he say? Do not get caught up with the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, which is what? Hypocrisy. Notice when he's talking about leaven in the text is symbolic of sin and the things that spring out of a man's heart, which he's telling you to purge out. Or what's in Mark chapter 7. You know what I'm saying? It's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out. So when you look at leaven, notice he said the malice and wickedness, and that's what he's mentioned in Mark. All that stuff, the fornication, the lasciviousness, the adultery, the evil eye, the wickedness, the pride, the blasphemy, all that's leaven. And you come and giving thanks to the man's name with that leaven and thinking he's supposed to take that. When he say that, because remember, giving thanks is a sacrifice. You know, that's in the text, that's a sacrifice. He said, give him the sacrifices of praise. You can see that at the end of Psalms 51 if you desire. And you're offering up that sacrifice. Remember, what does the law tell you about a sacrifice? What it can't have? Can't have no blemish. Can't have no spot. And we giving sacrifices of thanksgiving with all manner of spots and blemishes and thinking he's supposed to take it. I still got Job 11 too. I ain't even finished that. Let me go back over here to Daniel 1 though. Because we were talking about that blemish. That's what reminded me. Now remember, well favored, I just want to give y'all favored. That is moray, and that is in what is seen or in appearance. So it said they had a good appearance because well was told, so they had a good appearance. And of course, y'all know knowledge is daf, cunning is yada, which means they know. So they said that they knew knowledge. Daf is the knowledge of Elohim. So it's saying that they knew Elohim. This is what set Daniel apart. He knew Elohim. Perfect man. Faithful. Skillful in knowledge and wisdom and understanding. Science is mata. And again, that's knowledge and thought. So they had understanding of the knowledge of Elohim. Since I mentioned that 1 John chapter 5. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shalom, man. First John chapter 5, verse 18. We know that whosoever is born of Elohim sin not. He that is begotten of Elohim keep himself, and the wicked one touch him not. And we know that we are Elohim, and the whole world lie in wickedness. And we know the Son of Elohim is coming, giving us an understanding that we may know him that is true, and we are in him that is true. Even the Son Yahushua HaMashiach, this is the true Elohim and eternal life. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. Now notice that understanding allows you to know him. That's why Daniel was called greatly beloved. That's why he told Yahushua, this is my beloved son of whom I'm well pleased. He's faithful and he knows me. And he understands what I want him to do. What I need after this here, man. What I mentioned was the other spot. We'll come back to Exodus, man. The other spot will come in, man. Exodus chapter 12. Oh, it was Job 11. Come over here to Job 11. Praise the Lord. Appreciate you, sir. 11 and 13 again. Hey, sit down. You too, Muffin Man. Sit down. Come in. Oh, you got a stubborn streak in that one. 11 and 13. If you prepare your heart and stretch out your hands towards him, if iniquity be in your hand, put it far away, and let not wickedness dwell in your tabernacles. For then shall you lift up your face without spot, and you shall be steadfast and shall not fear. Notice that. What fear did Daniel have? What fear did Yahushua have? There's no fear of what man can do unto you when you're without spot, when you have put iniquity out of your tabernacle or purged out the leaven. It's not going to happen. See, these things happen. Remember what he told you about fear. The Apostle John told you about fear. Did you know what the Apostle John said about fear? And why don't you know this? You don't recall or you don't know? No, recall means you can't bring, it doesn't come to mind. I don't quite remember. Don't know means that you're absent of the information. That's an honest answer. Do you know what he said about fear, sir? And I'm talking about the Apostle John told us about fear. Do you recall what he said? Michael, do you know what he said about fear? The Apostle John? And why don't you know? Oh, no, that's Sunday. Yeah, there you go. That's it right there. He said, perfect love casts out fear. Why? Because fear has torment. Fear has torment. That's why Paul told Timothy, Elohim is not giving us the ruach of fear. There's no fear in Elohim. Who does Elohim fear? So why in the world, if you got the ruach of Elohim in you, that you would fear anyone? That's why Psalm 27 say, I will not fear what man can do unto me. That's why he say, let Yahuwah be your fear and your dread. You ought to have reverence and fear of Elohim. That's why Yahushua came back and said, don't fear a man who can kill you, and after that ain't nothing else he can do. Fear him who can kill, and then after that cast your body into hell. I say fear him. You ain't got no benefit fearing no man. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have to look at that when you got dudes who preaching the word and they got people fearing them. Ain't nobody supposed to be fearing no man. I don't care if you preach the word or not. You ain't supposed to fear no man. You're supposed to have respect for that man, but you ain't supposed to fear no man. What can he really do? He can't really do anything. Now, some of these people on here can attest to it, and some of y'all have seen it for yourself. What men do to be able to instill fear in other men to keep control over them is to make them feel like if that person don't want to teach them the word, they're going to go to hell. See, no, you're going to go to hell because you want it. You know what I'm talking about? One thing for certain, two things for sure. Well, Yahuwah got many men on many corners, on many blocks, and many trap houses putting work out every single solitary day. That man's word is not isolated to one region or one individual. Anybody who open their mouth and say so ought to be kicked dead in their chin and spit in their face because you lying on that man. Lying on that man. And I know several, especially One West organizations that will definitely tell you if you leave from over there, oh yeah, you ain't gonna get no word. Because you don't walk away from the truth. Now don't get it twisted. A lot of people who walk away because they don't want to serve. Now don't get it twisted. I probably say about a good 75% of people who live in a that boy said they threaten you with a nap. He ain't told you no lie. If an individual come, all they threaten you with is a nap. Because we've been talking about death. You shouldn't look at death for no other than what the word tells. What the word say when somebody died? They said they went to go sleep with their fathers. That was Rhonda had mentioned. All they doing is threatening you with a nap. But one thing for certain, two things for sure. Just like when you sleep, you don't know what's going on around you. Death is the same thing. Niggas give you running around the house smoking crack, doing backflips, doing all type of stuff. You sleep dead in the bed. You don't know what's going on. And what them old people like to say, dead to the world. Well, it's the same difference. Only difference is your thoughts go off. You ain't dreaming of nothing. Now you had dreams. You look like you had bad dreams. Dreams about Cocoa Puffs, Rice Krispies. That nigga look like, I sure want the Rice Krispie treat. Nigga, that thing's nasty. Exodus chapter 12. I think we was in verse 21. Yeah, we was in verse 21. We read 21 already. Let's get to 22. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, strike the lintel on the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out of the door of his house until the morning. Yahuwah will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he see the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, Yahuwah will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you, and you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons forever. Who is he telling this to? The men. And who he told them to give it to? Their sons. So there's a reason for that. I just recalled this. There's a video on the first channel, Jesus for True Freedom channel. I remember this only for one reason, because when it came, it was a text message. And then we just took something that was a text message to everybody and just put it on tape. And that was a fear Yahuwah from a father to a son. So there's a reason for that, because the father needs to teach the respect to the son so the son can teach it to his sons and to his wife and to his daughters. And that is the purpose of what you see Yahushua coming through to do, to teach that same memorial to his sons, which he did to his apostles. And let's take a look at that in Matthew chapter 26. See, I'm going to read that again. Listen what he said, right? He said, you shall observe this thing for ordinance to you and to your sons forever. It shall come to pass when you come into the land which Yahuwah will give you, according as he promised, that you shall keep this service. It shall come to pass when your children say unto you, what mean you by this service? That you shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Passover, who passed over the houses of the sons of Yasharal in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses, and the people bowed their heads in worship. So let's come over here to Matthew 26 and let's look at that. It is the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Passover. Verse 1. It shall come to pass when it came to pass when Yahushua had finished all these things, he said unto his disciples, you know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. Of course, all these people get together to do what it is that they got to do to him. But let's move around to verse 18. Make it 17. Now it says, now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came unto Yahushua, saying unto him, where will you that we prepare for you to eat the Passover? He said, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, the master say, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. See, now pause. Now, when he looked at it, his time is at hand. According to the law, when is the lamb supposed to be taken out? No, I'm talking about it gives you a specific day. Oh, no. You got to take that out on the 10th. If my memory serves me correctly. That's when you got to get him out, get him ready. So you got to have the preparation. See, come over here up a little bit higher in the chapter. Right here in verse 3. Speak you unto all the congregation of Yasharal on the 10th day of this month. They shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. If the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Yasharal shall kill it in the evening. Now, we've talked about this aspect many, many years ago. Of course, you see that you have to go back and look at the things leading up to his crucifixion, or where he's getting prepared for his death, or he gets pulled out on that 10th day. See, now he said on this 14th day coming, he said, now we got to get ready, got to kill him. Of course, when he died, what did he cause it to do? Cause it to go dark or at evening, because you got to, and he said the whole congregation who was out there. See, a lot of people say, he didn't get sacrificed according to the law. Indeed, he did. He did, all the way through and all the way live. But again, we're dealing with this particular aspect. Come on back over here to Matthew chapter 26 and look at verse 19. The disciples did as Yahushua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now, when the even was come, he sat down with the 12, and as they did eat, he said, truly, I say unto you that one of you shall betray me. Now, see, now we're dealing with a moth right now. And that's Psalms 45. I just want you to understand that and know that. That's what we're dealing with, the truth or the faithfulness. Because how was he faithful? What did he say he would do to the Lamb? He would slay him from what? The foundation of the world. He's saying, I know one of you shall betray me. How does Yahushua know this? Because the word has done what? Has bear witness of this. Not just in Psalms 55, not just in Psalms 41, but in the book of Judges with Delilah and Samson, with Cain and Abel, with Esau and Jacob, because Esau sought to betray his brother. And the list goes on and on. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because he's making we're going to read John 13 with this. He's making an attestation to his apostles that one of you are going to betray me. Let's continue. Verse 22. And they were exceedingly sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dip his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. Listen to what he says. The Son of Man go what? As it is written of him. Hold on, he said, the Son of Man go as it is written of him. See, that's when you pause and you begin to think about what? Psalms 40 and 7. He said, lo, it is written of me. I come in the volume of the book, and your law is within my heart, and he delights to do what? His will. So now you have your humility or your meekness, because he takes a delight in doing what this man wants him to do. Remember, we talked about that last week as well in 1 Chronicles chapter 28 with what? To serve him with a ready heart and a willing mind. See, a lot of individuals don't, but again, this is the key point. You can't delight to serve a man you don't respect. See, you know what happens when you're serving a man you don't respect? You don't do it out of delight. You do it out of obligation. And if you're doing it out of obligation, that means you're not going to do it with any thought, any care, or any desire whatsoever. You'll be doing it just enough to get what you feel like you're owed, which is why he tells you that you can't be justified by keeping the law, because you're not keeping the law because you delight to serve him. You're keeping the law because you think he will owe you. Do you still understand how that works? Because I was just talking to Trav about this the other day. Y'all know what we just talked about this last week. Oh, you over there playing? No. Where are you going? She said go there. Sit now. Because if you thought you were going to go find a way to sit up under your mother, you were sadly mistaken. See, what you thought is you saw your friends, and see, that's your problem. This ain't play hour. Now you want to look over there with the muffled face. But you wasn't looking like that when you were conducting yourself in a disorderly fashion. No, you were not. You were smiling, and you were cheesing, and you were happy, full of glee. Oh, no, side, not your throat. Verse 24 again, Matthew chapter 26. The Son of Man go as it is written of him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? And he said unto him, You have said. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it unto the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them and saying, Drink you all of it. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sin. So we're looking at the key component is the Amah and the Anava simultaneously. And the righteousness, truth be told, because he believed the word enough to go do it. I want you to come to John chapter 13. Come over here to John chapter 13. And pick up at verse 17. 13 and 17. Well, 13 and 18. He said, I speak not of you all. I know whom I have chosen. But the scripture may be fulfilled that he that eat bread with me have lifted up his heel against me. Now, you got to understand something. Do you know what the level of faith an individual has to have to go do something knowing that it is going to have a negative effect on his flesh and go do it anyway? Because of the promise that was made unto him, because riches and honor were promised unto him. You remember we talked about that loose? See, riches and guess what? Let me ask you a question. The first Passover, were riches and honor promised to you? Who says riches were promised to you? They were what? Yeah, he did. He dealt with that. But riches, though. Did he promise riches? How did he promise them? What did he say? Oh, but that's in the land. That's it. He said, didn't he say he was going to spoil you? Were going to spoil them people and borrow their jewels and their clothes and everything that they got? But why were you able to get that? Because what did Moses come to teach you before you came? See, before the law came, you got to understand something. So we're going to go through all that. What did he come and teach us? Did he not show signs and wonders by the hands of Aaron so those people would believe? Did he not also teach them truth and righteousness and meekness by telling them what to do for the Passover for their preparation to depart? See, he taught them all of those things with humility and the fear of Yahuwah so they could get riches, honor, and life on their way out the door. So then when the master come through and he do that, all he's doing, he's a prophet like unto Moses. It's all the same word. There's nothing different. There's nothing different. See, like I said, we get caught up in the law of Moses and all this other type of stuff. All that's well and good, but you're not looking at the attributes that Elohim wanted you to take on and carry with you. That's why most rules are unprofitable unto themselves and to others, because they're not taking on the key components that they can take with them to give to another. Because remember, he said, you're going to teach this memorial to your what? To your son. You think all he got to teach you, we came up out of Egypt. Or you think you're supposed to go through the text and show your son this is what it is. See, nobody don't want to take the time to do that. Like I said, there ain't no need to teach no little girl, because she's going to get that regardless. Who is she going to lead? So why would be the focus to teach her that in that regard? She ain't leading nobody. That's only modern times where women think they can lead. But we all know women don't want to follow other women. And ain't no man in his right mind sure don't want to follow men. The only time women want to follow other women is to do dastardly deeds. To go out here and be whorish. And when I'm talking about being whorish, I ain't talking about throwing no coochie. Just be around here half naked, showing thighs, showing titties, showing side boob, upper boob, booty cheeks. You know what I'm talking about? You know, all y'all done had hood activities. But as a brother did mention, they say, see, you know the most difficult thing for a man to be able to ascertain in this day and time? To know a wife from a concubine. To be able to have the ability to discern a wife from a whore. Most young men don't know how to discern the difference of a wife from a whore. See, of course, you live in a day and time now. Well, guess what? Didn't talk about it before. What does the woman tell the man he need to do? Prove himself to her. See, that's a whore. That's not a wife. See, if a woman make you, if a woman feel like you got to prove yourself to her, that ain't no wife. Move on. Because at the end of the day, Yahuwah proved himself just by doing what? Being Yahuwah. He didn't have to come and say, look at me, woman. I'm worthy for you to serve me. He done came through in the clutch. I hear you crying. Let me show you what type of man I am, because I'm the realest nigga you ever gonna see. Ain't nobody as thorough as me. Ain't nobody as honest as me. Ain't nobody as powerful as me. Let me tell you something. I'm sitting here watching these people oppress you, right? See, I know who you come from. See, you come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. See, they're my people. See, I roll with them. See, I made a promise to them. And see, you their offspring, so I'm going to fulfill that promise. And see, I know you don't know me. See, there's a difference. See, that's not no cold approach. There's no simple going on. He said, you was already mine. See, you ain't know that. But now let me introduce myself to you. See, first thing first is, I'm going to get this young man right here, and I'm going to have him slay your oppressor in your face to give you a sign that I'm going to deliver you from these people by his hand. But see, you didn't catch it. He said, you out here killing these people. You making it hard for him. Then I'm going to send the same man in front of Pharaoh, and I'm going to tell him, look, tell that whole nigga let my people go. But he ain't going to let him go because, see, I'm going to kill that nigga. I'm going to let my power be known on this buster. And then that's what he did. He said, you know what? I'll drop a plague on him. You know what? Drop another one on him. Drop another one on him. And then after this here, I'm going to kill all the kids. I'm going to bring them up out of here. And they're going to know that I'm the realest. And you didn't believe it. You didn't believe him. You thought he was some type of sucker. You thought that he needed to prove himself to you when all he was doing was just being Yahuwah. See, I say that because if you're a man and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you just being that man. You ain't proving yourself to nobody. They just coming along for the ride of the car that you already purchased, got fixed, cleaned up, and crunk up. See, most time what most men in this society doing is you trying to get somebody to help you build the car versus having it already built. And you telling you want to ride or what? It ain't no talk about let's catch the bus for a little while. You want to ride. See, there's a difference. That means you're operating from a position of power. See, Elohim was operating from a position of power. Most men don't operate from a position of power. So that would make the woman feel like she's in power. And therefore she feel like I can disrespect her. Do you know there's a difference from a woman dealing with somebody who got their stuff on point? She don't handle him like she gonna handle Buddy around the corner. She can't do it. She's not gonna be able to do it. See, you can go over there with Dagon, you can go over there with Ball, you can go over there with this person, and you can handle them guys any way you want them. See, you can't come handle you like that. You already know you're gonna have to come correct, or you're gonna have to step. And what do most people do? They don't even come his way. Let me stay over here with these sinners and live how I want to live. Because see, I got to live right if I come over here. Or when those people come over here, pressure. See, I'm gonna tell you something. There's no such thing as pressure. See, pressure is self-inflicted. You put pressure on yourself. See, if you're prepared and you're knowledgeable of what you're doing, what pressure do you actually have? Let's sit there and think about that. If you know what you're doing, if you're knowledgeable and competent in the arena that you're in, what pressure do you really have? You only put pressure on yourself to perform because you're ill prepared or you don't have the confidence to believe that you can execute said task. So when most people come over to the word and they feel like I just felt so much pressure, you didn't believe that you could actually do it, or you didn't have a desire to live up to the standards. So let me just go over here and live wild and free. Because then there's no pressure. But you're pushing the pressure on yourself. Or they say you're pressuring me. No one's pressuring you with anything. Information is given unto you, and you have a choice to make. You're either going to do it or you're not. Again, what did he tell you? I put before you blessing and cursing, life and death. Therefore, choose life. That's no pressure. He said, I set this before you. It's up to you which one you're going to choose. To me, it don't make me no never mind. Because I'm Yahuwah either way. Let's continue. John chapter 13. Verse 19. I tell you before it comes, that when it comes to pass, that you may believe that I am he. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that received whomsoever I send, receive me, and he that received me, receive him that sent me. Let's move down a little bit more. We don't want to talk about this nigga and his betrayal with his evil self. 13 and 31. Therefore, when he was gone out, Yahushua said, now is the Son of Man esteemed, and Elohim is esteemed in him. If Elohim be esteemed in him, Elohim also shall esteem him in himself, and shall straightway esteem him. This is the honor. But see, come back to John 13 one more time. I mean, in the beginning of the chapter, in verse 1 of an attestation of the writer. Now, therefore, the feast of the Passover, before the feast of the Passover, when Yahushua knew that his hour was come. Because how many times did it say that he slid out of the way because it wasn't his time? That means, again, this is their moth, and he has humbled himself under this commission. Remember, he was sent with the explicit purpose to do one thing, and that was to die. That's why I say he humbled himself even under death, even the death of the state, in order to be honored as the son of Elohim, that every knee would bow and every tongue would confess. See, we could also take that back to who? Joseph. Because Joseph humbled himself and he feared Elohim because he would not do what? Sleep with his master's wife. He feared Elohim by not blaspheming Elohim while he was in that prison. He continually served him in righteousness and meekness and truth while he was in that prison. And that's why he elevated him with riches, honor, and life, because that's what he got when he came from up out of there. See, the story is all the same. It does not change. Because these are elements of the character of men who serve Elohim. Elements that we have to take on. And again, these are elements that men are supposed to teach to their son. How do we know this? Because he say, what the father do, the son do likewise, because the father teaches the son everything that he does. See, that the things are not going to come correct until men begin to teach other men the things necessary for them to teach to their son. But we shall continue. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Yahushua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto Abba, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Yahushua, knowing that Abba had given all things into his hand, and that he was come from Elohim and went to Elohim. This man already know what's going to happen, and he humbled himself and did it anyway. You know how many people would have bucked that? And you know why they would have bucked it? Because they would have thought about themselves. See, again, right? What does the text tell us about love? It doesn't seek its own. Love is an unselfish vocation. I've told you this in the past, and I'm going to tell you again. You cannot say that you have the love of Elohim in you and you are a selfish individual. It is impossible. You're a liar, and the truth is not in you. It is impossible to say the love of Elohim is in you and you are selfish, because we could go in this text of every individual who is declared to have the love of Elohim in them, and not a single solitary one of them sought their own. That's not what happened. That's not Elohim. Elohim does not do that. That is not the Ruach of Elohim. If anyone say different, they are a liar. Cut it out. You ain't even crying for real. That's how you sound. Well, come here then. Come on here then. Don't come over here with all that. Breathe. 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 Just breathe. See? Now you're relaxed. Back to Exodus 13. Exodus 12, excuse me. I want you to come over here to verse 26 of Exodus chapter 12. It shall come to pass when your son shall say unto you, what mean you by this service or this labor or this work? That you shall say is the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Passover. We already read that. I'm in verse 28. And the sons of Yasharal went away and did as Yahuwah commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahuwah smote all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim, for the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on the throne, unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle. Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house, for there was not one dead. He called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both you and the sons of Yasharal, and go serve Yahuwah as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as you have said, gone and bless me also. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. So they said, we be all dead men. Guess what? That's what they said. When Yahushua got put up on the tree, how did they say it? When they said, let his man's blood be on our children, they said, we all dead men. Why are they all dead men? Because they did not take heed to Yahuwah's Passover. They rejected Yahuwah's Passover the same way the Egyptians did. And they were all but dead men. Because guess what? Not one of them had life in them. How do we know this here? Come over here to John chapter 3. First and foremost, John chapter 3, verse 17. You could make it verse 14. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Muffin man. Aubriel, I need you to sit up, please. Malia, I need you to sit up, please. It is not sleepy time. Bird, don't lay down. Sit up like a young man should. John chapter 3, verse 14. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believed in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For Elohim sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He that believe on him is not condemned. He that believe not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Elohim. This is the condemnation, that light is coming to the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. See, Pharaoh loved darkness rather than light. That's why he made it be dark on the Egyptians and gave light to the seed of Yasharal, because they loved darkness rather than light. Because what were the Egyptians doing? Serving multiple gods. You know, happy. You remember who Happy is, Sade? You don't remember. That's a crying out shame. You know Happy. You remember Happy, Michael? The God Happy. I done told you about Happy too many times. Yes, it is. The God Happy. Hapi. See, I know those who know the answer. That's why I ain't going to ask you. Oh, you taking too long. You know who Happy is, boy? No, the other you. That ain't the other you. I was being sarcastic. Yes, sir, you. Oh. That's wrong. No. That's a different. That's a different thing. Oh, they probably were wickets. You know who Happy is? That's close, but it ain't. But it's in the same arena. What about you, Lee? Lee, you know who Happy is? Y'all ain't right. All that time I get invested in finding this information and sharing it, all you niggas rude and disrespectful. There you go, the tranny God. Tranny God. His name is actually Hapi. Said Happy. Tranny deity. Male and female. That's why I say when they see said Pan, it's in the ballpark, the same thing. The morphodite deity. It probably could be. We'd have to look at the etymology of the word gay. Yeah, you have to look at the origin of the word, and that would give you a better handle on what it was really intended to mean. The same thing with queen. You know, queen is you're a banshee or a whore. We want to talk about I'm a queen. Shoot, you right. You're a demon on feet. I remember a couple Hebrew women and men got upset back then. That ain't what it mean. Hey man, it is what it is, my nigga. I've been letting you know. You calling yourself by something, you don't even know why you calling yourself by that. It ain't even been that many queens in the history of mankind. Leave that chair alone. See, clearly you want to be chastised and embarrassed in front of all your friends. Is that what it is? Clearly it is, because you're testing limits and boundaries. And I have no qualms whatsoever in embarrassing you in front of all these people. I have no desire to embarrass you in front of all these people. Please don't force my hand to do so. Because then after that, I'm going to give you to your mother, and I'm going to let her embarrass you in front of all these people, so you can get double the pleasure. Now, I don't know how she's going to do it. I'm going to be creative with mine. See, you looking sad. I may or may not smoke you, but you will be embarrassed in front of all these people. That much you can be guaranteed. Come on back over here, man. Exodus 12. You could get verse 35, because that's what we're here for. The sons of Yasharal did according to the word of Moses. They borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver, jewels of gold, and raiment. And Yahuwah gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. When you look at lent, that is sha'al, or that is to ask as a favor or to borrow. But most importantly, to grant, to give over. Sean, Aleph, and Lamad. You can go ahead. Hey, come here, boy. Come here. Don't come over here crying, looking sad, or none of that there. Be intended. Just come here. What are you on? No. I didn't ask you that. I said, what should you be on? And what are you doing? So what should you go over there and do? So don't you think that you should be chastised thoroughly if you don't sit down after this conversation? Then go sit down. Don't fight with her about that blanket. Just sit down. But you weren't even under the blanket, sir. You were sitting on it. So therefore, you were not concerned with the temperature. Now, if you want your blanket, just let it be known, let me have my blanket back. See, there's a proper way to say, you get upset, y'all want to snatch and fight. See, that's how y'all end up in trouble. Instead of just saying, hey, that is my blanket, give it to me. Then if they don't want to give it, you go get your father or your mother. It's a very simple way of doing things, sir. Aren't you a young man? Huh? Are you a young man? I'm talking to you, boy. Are you a young man? Then conduct yourself like one. You got paired to the strength of the shepherd. Hold on, I got one more thing in John 3. I almost forgot it. And I almost forgot to finish verse 20. Let me read verse 19 in John 3 while y'all thinking on that Sean, Aleph, and Lamad. This is the condemnation that light is coming to the world. Men love darkness rather than light because the deeds were evil. Everyone that do evil hate the light, neither come to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. But he that do truth come to the light, that his deeds may be manifest, that they are worked in Elohim. But this is what we want to conclude at right now in this John chapter 3, verse 31. Again, while you're thinking on that Sean, Aleph, and Lamont, he that come from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthy, and speak of the earth. He that come from heaven is above all. And he paused because I wanted to go back and refer to something that we discussed about a week or so ago. That's what I meant when I was talking to you about the difference of him being of earth or earthy or being of Adam when you're dealing with the nature of men of desiring more than one woman versus him that is from above or that is from heaven and he speaks of it. See, the reason I mention that is because if you're of earth, in your course, what are you going to speak of? You're going to speak of carnal things. See, again, like I told you last week, I don't care how many wives a nigga got. But when you go to talking about the will in heaven, you're not going to persuade me that that is the will of Yahuwah. See, you can't come with the cap of the law allows it. It certainly does. What is the will of Yahuwah? And will you submit to that? Because the will of Yahuwah in the beginning was the first man or first Adam, and he had one. We just read that last night in Malachi, right? He said that they might make it a what? A godly seed. And I made them what? One. What is that pointing you to? That is pointing you to Elohim and Yasharal, because at the end of the day, who came up out of Egypt? How many women? Just one. Who did he make a promise to and enter into a covenant with? How many women? Just one. Who was the woman who he was teaching to have humility and Yerah, or humility and the fear of Yahuwah? And who did he teach it to by truth, meekness, and righteousness? Just one woman. That's who we talk. See, that's when you're dealing with heaven. See, I'm trying to get you to understand between the. That's why you can't get upset with somebody if they carnal and they think it's men. You have to let them. I'm not going to get mad with you because you say the law of Yahuwah allowed me 5 wives. Right on, brother. I know you don't have the mind of Mashiach. That's not my problem. You understand? You have to understand that. That's not my problem. The reason, again, why I mention this here, because I'm just using something that we just discussed. And so the difference between he that is above and he that is of below. He that is of heaven and he that is of the earth. Because he that is of the earth is going to speak of earthly things. That's what he just said. When you pay attention to the scribes and Pharisees, all they ever discussed were carnal things. Yeah, hold on. Let me read that again. John chapter 3, verse 31. He that come from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly and speak of the earth. He that come from heaven is above all. And what he have seen and heard, that he testify, no man received his testimony. He that received his testimony has set to his seal that Elohim is true. So again, anybody who has the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, they have set the seal that the Father in heaven is Amah. So again, the testimony of Yahushua, or the dispersing of the gospel, is how he teaches you the fear of Yah with the Amah that is mentioned in the Psalms 45 and 4. Let's continue. For he whom Elohim sent speak the words of Elohim. For Elohim give not the Ruach by measure unto him. Abba loved the Son. He give all things into his hand. He that believe on the Son have everlasting life. He that believe not on the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of Elohim abide on him. That is what you see when you looking at we all be but dead men, because they said, who is Yahuwah that we might serve him? They did not believe in him. Therefore, wrath rested on the Egyptians' head. Did the Egyptians get riches? No. Did they get honor? No. Did they get life? No. They were drowned in the Red Sea. They got utter contempt because they lightly esteemed a man, and the riches that they had were taken from them. Let's go back to that Exodus 12. Saran put on it to be paired to the strength of the shepherd when you're looking at the spoil. Let's go back to it. Or was that Lent that we were looking at? That was Lent. So this is something that's given over unto you. And what did we just sit back? He giving you we just read it in Malachi last night. He give you the residue or the remnant of the Ruach. Because this is what you're getting, because you got this from the Egyptians. So you have to understand something. The Egyptians are symbolic of whom? The devil. Because remember, he said that he gave power, that he to kill him who had power over death. That is the devil, because you were all your lifetime subject to what? Bondage. That's what it said. The whole lifetime that you were in Egypt, what were you subject to? Bondage. Who had to be taken down in order to free you? Pharaoh. Who had to be taken down in order to free you? Yahushua. And what did he turn around and lend you? Because he said that the devil came to steal, kill, and destroy, but the Lamb came that you might have life and that you might have it in abundance. And therefore he is lending or giving over to you the life that Satan took from you. Because Satan had power over death. Therefore Yahushua came and took it back to give it unto you, or to bestow riches unto you, if you will. Now, when you look at spoil, that is not Saul, and that is to snatch away. Let me get this word for borrowed in the verse before that. Borrowed is shahal as well. So I want you to understand that there, because you came out of Egypt with riches. You didn't leave out of there broke. Because what is the point that he's teaching you? To respect him, to believe in him, and to be humbly serve him. See, he made that statement in Deuteronomy when he was talking about the manna, that he wanted to see if you would keep his commandments or not. He wanted to see, do you respect what I'm saying? Do you judge what I'm saying as being right? And will you humbly yield to what I told you to do? See, what the man is asking to do is so simple, but all it's going to show is what is in a man's heart, or what is their desire to do. And it's not in the desire of many people to serve. Like I mentioned before, how many of y'all were raised to serve? Not told to do something, but raised to serve. See, there's a difference. See, there's a difference of go cook for your brothers and sisters. Go clean the house. It's different from that. That's ordering somebody. That's not teaching you to serve. Because teaching someone to serve is actually serving next to them while you're teaching them to do it. See, y'all didn't pay attention to that when Mashiach told you that. I'm sorry. Remember what he told you? Come over here to Luke. Come over here to Luke 13, man. Let me show you what I'm talking about. It might be 16. It's Luke 16. Is it Luke 16, or was I right the first time? I was right. No, their feet washed, but I ain't even going to that one there. But that's not a bad one. That's not what I'm talking about. But that is definitely not a negative example. That is definitely a good one. But it's something that's and the spot always skips out of my brain what our desire Luke 17, actually. 17:6. That's what I'm talking about. Remember, right? He said, what did Mashiach say? He did not come to be served, but to what? To serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. And again, of course, Saran mentioned, he said, he feet wash. He said, I'm your Lord and Master, and I've washed your feet. He said, you ought to do one another, but the purpose of the example is that he's teaching you to serve as he served. See, it's easy to tell someone to do something. Like I said, most people are not raised to serve. So then when you get in a position where you have to serve, i.e. be a wife or a husband, because a husband has to serve, he just has to serve in a different capacity than the wife has to serve, you look at it with contempt. Because you look at it, you're being ordered around, therefore that's why you don't have the delight. So like I say, did your people raise you to serve, or did they just tell you to do stuff? They just tell you to do stuff. So then when someone's always telling you to do stuff, then you begin to have resentment of being told to do something. Because they didn't teach you as a man of service. They taught you as this is your obligatory service, meaning this is what you got to do because I birthed you, nigga, and I raised you. They didn't teach you to be a servant. So therefore, you can't serve your husband. Therefore, you can't serve your children. Therefore, you can't serve your wife. You can't serve your offspring. You can't serve your brother. Now you can't do it because you have not been given the tools of how to do it, because service removes selfishness. See, an individual who teaches you to serve teaches you to give yourself to others, seeking nothing in return. See, when you're seeking something in return, you're doing business. See, if you have to do something for your man thinking, oh, he going to give me this or he going to give me that, you didn't serve him, you did business. You were seeking, that's transactional. That's transactional service. That's transactional love. You don't love this person. Your love only goes as far as they will require something material or something that you desire. Not because I just delight in doing this for them, because it brings them joy. So therefore, because they're joyful, I'm joyful. Then, of course, if you understand the nature of a just and upright man, then he's going to want to serve you because you delight in serving him, because that's what those who lead seek to do, to make sure those, remember what they told him in Kings? What did those wise men tell Rehoboam to do? What counsel did they give him to do? To serve. See, come over here to 1 Kings 13, just on that for a second. Well, I think I'm in the wrong spot. It's actually, is it 12? I think it's 12. Well, it is 12. 1 Kings chapter 12. Pick it up at verse 4. We'll make it 3. They sent and called him and Jeroboam, and all the congregation of Yasharal came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, your father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make the grievous service of your father and his heavy yoke, which he put upon us, lighter, and we will serve you. That's why he told you, my yoke is easy and my burden is light, for you to serve him. That's why he told you his commandments are not grievous. He's not going to put this grievous service on you so you can serve him. And he said unto them, depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. King Jeroboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, how do you advise that I may answer this people? They spake unto him, saying, if you will be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, they will be your servants forever. See, that's what a lot of people sit back and they don't realize that that's what Yahushua did. See, let's look at those words that are used there. Let's look at those words that are used there. Of course, you know, servant, that's a bod. You already know that. And of course, you know, good words. You know, that's told the bar, if you speak good words. And what did Yahushua tell you? A good tree, it only brings forth good fruit. It can only speak good words. Matter of fact, Matthew chapter 12. He told you they'll be your servants forever. That's why he say, he that hear, let him hear. Because those who hear those good words that he got to speak, they his servants forever. That's why he say, those that the Father give me, no man can take them or pluck them out of my hand, because they my servants forever. Matthew chapter 12, verse 33. Indeed, either make the tree good and its fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and its fruit corrupt, for the tree is known by its fruit. O generation of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? See, Rehoboam was evil. That's why he couldn't speak no good things. That's why he couldn't do it, right or wrong. Because he listened to them young men, did he not? And them young men told him to what? Make the service hard. He couldn't speak good word. That's why Pharaoh couldn't speak no good word. It wasn't in him. He said, good man, O generation of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? For the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart bring forth good things. An evil man out of the evil treasure bring forth evil things. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. See, because he can remember, right? Because if you know, a naughty tongue give heed to lying lips. So of course you're gonna speak evil things. So you have to pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to all that, all the stuff that you see in the world. Bird. That nigga's crazy. You have to pay attention to that. See, you have to sit back and look at it, right? You look at all these people in the world. What they said, right? You know, they say like they said, right? Nike turned around, they sued the little nigga. They didn't sue Lil Nas X. Let me correct that. They sued the company. But the only reason why they sued the company, they didn't care about the shoes. Just let that be known. Because that same company made a pair of Jesus shoes, they didn't say it worked. See, they only sued them for one reason and one reason alone: negative publicity, because public perception was that Nike made them shoes. They don't care if you worship Satan. Nigga, they worship Satan. You know what I'm talking about? To hire us, they don't care nothing about that. They just care about public perception. We gonna lose some money. But see, guess what the company said? They said them shoes sold out in guess how long? 60 seconds. 600. They say 665 pairs of shoes sold out in 60 seconds, and they were going to raffle off the 666 because they said Nike gave a cease and desist order or a sort of restraining order to stop them from shipping the shoes. And them people said, "Oh, we done sold them and shipped them." Sold them. Now understand this here, right? 665 pairs of shoes at $1,000 a piece. Now I understand how much do a pair of Air Max 97 cost? No more than $200. So you sold them for 5 times more than what you paid for them. And truth be told, you didn't really do. You got a little labor in there because you put blood in the bubble. And the blood came allegedly from the employees of said company. That's where the human blood came from. All they did was put a pentagram on the laces. They didn't spend no time or labor in customizing and stitching Luke 10 and 18 on the shoe. That's all they did. Walked away, $600,000. You know what I'm saying? That's what they made. Real quick, like out the blue. You know what I'm talking about? And what is the purpose of all that there? Because Nike's not the heads of Nike are not speaking good things like you're corrupt people. How do you know that there? Because they give you corrupt commercials all the time. They taught you women to be empowered and be feminists. You know what's funny, right? It's a channel. It's called It's Complicated, where this white dude just walk around and ask people random questions. But he asked them thought-provoking questions. And he asked the women this question right here. He said, in this time in modern history, do women have more power than they have ever had at any time in history? Would you say yes or no? Do women have the most freedom that they've ever had at any time in human history? He said, then how can women turn around and say they're being oppressed? Because if you got the most power and the most freedom, who is oppressing you? But you see how he set that up with the logic by answering them a question that they know that they would affirm and then turn around and show you that you're full of crap. Because you can't have the most power and freedom that you've ever had and then say you're full of crap. I mentioned that you can't say that you're just righteous, upright company and then say, and then turn around and put out this wickedness over here because you were promoting the chaos of Colin Kaepernick. Because all that was just an exercise in chaos. That wasn't an exercise in, what you call it, social justice. How you can do in social justice selling me shoes and documentaries? But again, that goes back to what I'm talking about being two-dimensional and being a consumer. And it's like I said they sold out a pairs of those Kaepernicks. You've never seen nobody in the history of mankind in the street with them shoes on. You ain't seen nobody. Like you said, they had a whole line of Kaepernick gear. How many niggas you seen walk around with that Nike Kaepernick clothes on? You got it in there. You ain't seen nobody in real life with them clothes on. Not nobody on the internet. Not nobody in real life. Who you seen with them Kaepernick ones on? Because that's all they were. They were ones with this nigga face on. Who you seen with them shoes on? Nigga, how many niggas you seen in the street with a Kaepernick jersey on? I ain't seen that. Only nigga I seen say wear a Kaepernick jersey was Nick Cannon, and that doesn't say much. No, I'm mentioning this here because is this stuff real? Is there really a groundswell in support, or are they manipulating you? Because it might be people with them shoes. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. You ever seen somebody with them on? No, you work with Churn. No, they just Air Force One, and they put his face on. That's all they did. They sold you some. That's how stupid they take you for. I'm gonna sell you another pair of white on white ones for a higher price than what they usually go for because I put Kaepernick's face and number on to make you feel like you're for the cause. Because see, what's that lady name? The mother of Tamir Rice. He got on that lady who Tamika Mallory said you ain't do this. Whole supposed to be a social justice activist. She got Cadillac commercials. Come on, man. You doing Cadillac commercials? That's General Motors, baby. That's the machine you say you against. And you expect me to believe, but they say, oh, she's an activist. She's been doing this 20 years. You following a woman? I don't trust no nigga following a woman. A grown, husky man being led by a woman? Oh, I don't trust you. There's something wrong with you. A man following a woman, you my leader? When adversity arises and something go down, I'm looking at somebody who has a menstrual cycle, who goes through emotional changes once a month. I'm looking at you. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because then you're going to turn around and this here, right? Because again, like I said, right, you got all this power, right? You got all this freedom, and then you say you're unprotected. And so you know what happens when you become unprotected? Why you go unprotected? Because you got freedom and power. Who protects the proud? You or so don't. You got all that freedom, didn't you? He said he gave you over to your own heart so you can see what you envy. You got the freedom. Now, on here now. Now watch, see if I protect you or not. And what he told you in Judges, call on your gods. Let them come do it. You want to be liberal? Love Mr. Charlie? Call Mr. Charlie. Let him protect you. Because that's what you want to do anyway. That's what you want to do anyway. You want Paul to come do it. Because see, Paul don't care what you see. Mr. Charlie don't care what you do. You know, bounce your titties all up in the air. You know, walk around with your cheeks, let them clap. You know what I'm saying? To make sure my money on time. That's all he care about. Because guess what they always promote to you? Black women are the fastest rising entrepreneurs in the country. So what? You know why that means that? Why that's meaningless? Because anybody can start a business. How many of those businesses are successful? What is the average amount of time that a business fails? 3 to 5 years. You're out of business and gone. So what if 100,000 people started a business? If the 36 months later, only 10,000 of them remain? Is that something to be proud of? That 90,000 people failed? But they're not going to tell you that 90,000 people failed. See, that's what I'm mentioning that because what does the text tell you? That the race is not given to the swift, but those that can endure. See, remember, it's 600,000 men came up out of Egypt, but only 2 got in. Out of those 600,000, remember that. There's other people who got in, but out of those 600,000 men, only 2 got in. So are we going to sit back and talk about 600,000 came out? Or are we only going to look at the 2 that were successful? I just see it. And what do most of our people look at? We only want to talk about all those that came out, but not the 2 that were successful. And why were those 2 successful? Because what did the text say? He had a different spirit on him. And what did those men have? They had humility, they had righteousness, and they had faith. Because what did Yahushua, son of Nun, and Caleb say? They said, they fool for us. We could take them. They said, we can take it. And guess what? That's why Yahushua, son of Nun, was honored. How was he lifted up and honored? He took Moses' place. And why did he take it? By humility and the fear of Yahuwah. See, it's all the same. You look at any righteous man who followed that, Yahushua followed the same pattern because those men did the same thing. That humility and that respect is going to be there every single solitary time. And every one of them who did it, he honored them, he gave them life, and he bestowed wealth on them. But see, we're not looking at wealth just in material wealth. Some men he gave material wealth. I had in my mind to talk about Solomon in that same regard because Solomon trusted Yahuwah. He humbled himself. How did he humble himself to Yahuwah so he could get riches? And he did it unintentionally. He prayed for wisdom. And he gave him riches because him praying for wisdom was a sign of reverence and humility. So he said, let me go and give you this riches, honor, and life. Let me go ahead and give you that because you ain't even asked me for that. So that was what? Really indicative of the type of man who Solomon was. Because of all the things that he could ask for, he asked for the ability to judge the people righteously. See, we don't pay attention. See, again, that goes into what you do, irregardless if you thought you were going to be rewarded for it or not. See, that's what I was talking about. I told you many years. If you with a woman you ain't married to, that woman ain't obligated to do nothing for you. That man ain't obligated to do nothing for you. But if they do it, that's indicative of who they are because that means they would have done it regardless. They're not looking at it, oh, nigga ain't gonna play me. See, that means you selfish. You in it to get something. That's not your character. That's not who you are. You're doing it. You're on your best behavior in order to benefit. I told you before, if you do it and you mess it up, oh, that's just your loss. You lost out because I'm disregardless. So you have to be who you are. Yahushua is Yahushua. He didn't turn around and say, I'm not going to bless the people or give them miracles to do this here because this person didn't believe or this person is wicked. Because I'm Elohim. I'm full of abundance of goodness, mercy, and truth. Regardless, this is who I am. That's not changing because of you. Because you're not going to give me back the honor and respect due unto me. That's not going to change who I am. So if you was like to say, oh, he my husband, I ain't going to cook for him. That means you ain't going to cook for him if you was married. You ain't going to do it. You know what I'm talking about? See, if you're not going to respect me before I get married, I know full well you ain't just going to flip that switch on and do it now. Because I talked to her, I told her about to say, man, she don't do this and she don't do that. I say, well, she ain't doing it before you get married. Nigga, she ain't going to start doing it when she got less of incentive to do it after marriage than before. Because I got you now, nigga. So I really ain't got to do it. Nigga, I've won. I'm not doing anything. See, young men ain't taught to pay attention to that. How she behaves before you wife is how she gonna behave after you do. You know what I'm saying? That ain't got nothing. See, no, it's not oh, I get married, now I'm gonna do this. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's no different if that nigga ain't want to pay no bills before he got with you, he ain't gonna do it afterwards. If that nigga ain't pay his bills before he married you, what in the world make you think he gonna pay your bill? And he ain't want to pay his own. That nigga hitting you up, man, I don't want to pay this bill. You pay it for me. That nigga ain't gonna take care of you, baby. I tell you that right now, he ain't gonna do it. Guess what? Yahuwah took care of you before he manifested himself to you. Before you knew who your husband was, he was already taking care of you. You ain't even know it. Because he preserved you the whole time in Egypt when a Pharaoh rose up who didn't know Joseph, who was seeking to kill you. Because he put it on the midwives' hearts not to kill you. You know what I'm talking about? See, he was taking care of you before you even knew it. Because that's who he is. There's no change in that. Oh man. Let's say you gotta pay attention to that. That nigga don't do right. I'm telling you, ain't no only thing you can flip a switch on is the light bulb. If you got a push start in your car, you push that, it'll cut on. You can't do that in interaction with people. If you a bad friend, you're gonna be a bad friend. You just gonna be like, oh, when I get to this point, I'm gonna be a good friend. No, absolutely not. Your character tells us who you are. You know what I'm talking about? And if you're a disrespectful, rotten, rude, selfish individual, you're definitely gonna be that after you get married. You know the only way that can change because you have a desire to change. And you know the one thing you can't do? You can't make nobody change. They got to do that for themselves. You think who will force people to repent? Oh, no, you got to do that for yourself. We go. Let me get this Luke 17. We get on out of here, man. It's 11:23. Luke 17:6. You know, it's a Sabbath day, so you get 2 plus. 2 hours plus. That's what you get. You don't like it, take it up with the Lord. Roll your eyes one more time, nigga. Because you sit up for 2 hours watching the trash can movies you niggas like to watch. Rom-coms and murder movies and all this other type of stuff. Yeah, you look like you and Deidre hang out talking about them romantic comedies y'all be watching. Because that nigga knows she watch them things when I'm not present. I don't. They're trash. They're horrible. It is needed. Because they're bad films. And they're gay. And that's why you know why they're gay? Because they're sending women out in the world thinking it's a nigga out there who gonna love them like that simp nigga in that movie. Look at you. Because she's like, that was show me. I was so looking for a nigga like that when I watched that man. It's ugly. Straight up. For real though. And you've been influenced to think that a man would do any of those things you've seen in them movies in the real world. See how they got you? It's good entertainment. But you saying no, but you steady watching. You always say that though. Hallmark movies not like that. Heck yeah. I know you do, because this nigga be trying to tell me I'm a gangster watching Hallmark movies. What gangster watch Hallmark movies? Retired, nigga, you never got hired. You ain't never been no gangster. You ain't never did no gangster things. Have you carried narcotics in your bra or in your vagina? Have you toted a pistol in your purse? Have you kept a 22 in your bra? No. Have you gone on a high-speed chase? So you was a gangster in your own mind. You wasn't no gangster on the college campus. You were going to class. Gangsters don't go to class. That's why they gangsters. I'm sorry. Luke 17:6. And the Lord said, if you have faith as grain of a mustard seed, you might say unto the sycamore tree, be you plucked up by the root and be you planted in the sea, and it should obey you. But which of you having a servant plow or feeding cattle will say unto him by and by, when he is come from the field, go and sit down to meat, and will not rather say unto him, make ready wherewith I may sup, and gird yourselves and serve me till I have eaten and drunken, and afterwards you shall eat and drink. Doth he think that servant, because he did the things that were commanded him, I trod not. So likewise, when you shall have done all those things which are commanded you, say we are unprofitable servants, we have done that which is our duty to do. Which is in what is he teaching them? Humility. And he gave them an example. And also he gave them an example of he himself. See, that's a hard one there, because you look what he said. Look what he told him to say. We are I mean, I did this looking for no gain. I wasn't looking to get anything out of this. This is a part of my. See, when you're taught to serve, that means you're taught to serve for not looking for anything in return. See, most people that's what. See, you know the worst thing you can do for a child? Pay them to take the trash out. Pay them to wash dishes. Pay them to clean up. Nigga, what do you mean? You're teaching them that service is transactional. Because they're supposed to be serving you, and you're supposed to be serving them. So why would you teach them service is transactional? So guess what they're going to do when they go out into the world? Seek for someone to serve them, and it's going to be transactional. It's not going to be, I'm doing this, and I'm not seeking any gain from this. See, you could teach someone to be a servant and not be exploited. Because Yahushua taught you what? Give and do what? Ask not again. Lend and seek nothing in return. And you'll be rewarded at the resurrection of the just. So he's teaching you service. This is its way that you do that. Says if you want to give something to your children to show them to have a job, so show them the value of working for your money. See, there's a way to do that. But if it's a part of service in the household, you don't want to pay them for that. It's like paying niggas for grades. Why are you paying them for that? That's what you're supposed to do. You shouldn't want to say that I will incentivize you to excel by compensating you, because if you remove the compensation, you remove the motivation to excel and be great. I have no desire to be great because there is no financial reward for me. versus instilling in them that I desire you to be great in order for you to prosper and excel. So therefore, I'm not rewarding you with something that you ought to desire to be great in. But see, you have to instill that in them. And you have to be exhibiting that yourself for them to believe it. See, when you see Yahushua, he instilled that into you because that's what he did. That's why you can believe it. If he was telling you to be great, but yet he was around here with the drunkards getting drunk, you know what I'm talking about, waiting for the bottle girls to clap their booty cheeks, you're not going to believe it. But let us get up out of here for now, because we have many more days. Hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. I appreciate y'all time. I bless y'all the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. You who are willing, we'll pick it up tomorrow at 8:30 and make it do it again and do it again. Again, praise be to the living Elohim for allowing us to gather to observe the feast of the Passover yet again. And yes, and indeed, man. Again, blesses out the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua, man. And, you who are willing, we'll pick it up on tomorrow and roll as such. Have you finished preparing your victuals?